Welcome, welcome, crew, guys, gals, ghouls, and other worldly beings. Let's climb aboard the mothership, secure our tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. I'm your ghostess with the mostest, TessaTNT, broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. And thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me tonight on Rare Paradox Media's Late Night in Rockies. It is an honor, a pleasure, and a privilege to have you hanging out with me on the airwaves. If you want to listen in your free time, whether you're working it or working out, feel free to look me up wherever you listen to your broadcast or podcast, and you should find me there. So tonight we're doing Trippy TikToks with me, TessaTNT, and we're going to start it off with some UFO action. This is in Japan.
Fascinating clip from Chiba, Japan. This happened August 20th, 2026, where the witness saw this strange cylindrical shape, almost tic-tac shaped UFO in the sky. However, it seemed to be spinning on its side and rotating around, which I find fascinating. The witness actually says to look at the tree line to the left of this video. That's around the whereabouts of where the UFO was. He says it looked closer on camera, but it actually wasn't close to those buildings that you see there. Like, it wasn't above them, and he says people probably would have seen that and been freaking out. He said it seemed to him, from his perspective, to be farther out, like around the back where those trees are, but just in that area above in the sky. Still super cool, very fascinating. The person was very surprised at how clear they could see it from that far, so they believe it was pretty big. And they started recording when they noticed that it didn't leave the sky after it appeared. It just hovered there and started spinning, which I would start recording too, because normal aircraft don't do that, and that's freaking weird. What's crazy is that with all of these UFO sightings coming up, literally every day we're getting more and more sightings, and the government giving us disclosure, literally releasing tranches of files every few weeks now. We still don't have any more answers. I feel like we're still not closer to figuring out what the hell's going on. It's like the government's like, oh, here's all these videos. And then everyone's like, oh, here's all these videos. Right? But the government knows as much as we do because they're not giving answers with the videos. They're just like, yeah, we don't know. I just...
Ooh, look at the pretty blue. What the heck, dude?
That is crazy. Y'all, that's crazy.
Это чё? Это просто что за нахрен? Чё вам?
Ooh, I see it now. I couldn't see it at first. Wow, that's a big one.
Solín Salarra. Son todos guiados, observados por nuestra familia.
And this one right here is pretty bizarre, but it's very short. Take a look at this.
What the heck? Oh, you're just gonna keep going towards it?
So apparently someone captured this light that appeared to be sitting in one place while they were out on a boat. And I believe this was on a lake. And as the light gets brighter, you could see the camera kind of get blurry, like it's having a hard time focusing. That's the only thing that made me think maybe this video right here is authentic. But if it is, what could that be? And how do you explain when something that looks like a brush fire suddenly takes off into the sky?
¿Está quemando? ¿Qué fue? No, es otra cosa. Ay, Estamos viendo eso, pero ¿qué será tú? Es bien raro.
Apparently this was filmed in Mexico and someone saw this on the side of the road, so they started recording it, and within moments it just took off. You could see it going further and further in the distance in the sky. What do you think that could be?
¿Se está quemando? ¿Qué fue? No, es otra cosa. Ay, estamos viendo eso, pero ¿qué será tú? Es bien raro.
There's this fascinating clip from Chiba, Japan. This happened
Yes, we
August
saw
20th,
this
2026, where the witness...
What the heck? The Metal Sky Man, Utah, 8/11/2025. What?
What is going on?
That is weird. And if that is a metal man, he's giant. What the heck?
Oh my
Metal Sky Man. Sky. Wow. Oh, someone in the comments is saying it's CGI.
Hey.
Baby, I'm recording it all.
There's no way that's a key. I'm calling my brother. That shit is huge.
Yeah, it is huge. What's really long? It's stupid aliens.
Bro, come outside. There's a fucking saucer outside, bro. Alien. Come outside right now, bro.
Pick him up in the truck.
Come all the way to the stop sign. All the way to the stop sign. Oh, bro, you gotta come. I'm right here, right? It's really right in fucking front of us.
Everybody's playing with the toys. Oh my goodness. If this is in Miami?
What the Say, Prince. That looked crazy. Is that a plane? What is that?
Is it a portal?
No, seriously.
Letting loose
what
craft
is
in?
that? Is that a shooting star? No. I'm gonna literally be... No way. No freaking way. No, literally there's like glitter around it. I'm not even kidding you. There's like glitter around it. Is it multiple? Are we being attacked?
What would you do? Wow. Holy shnikes, dude.
What is that? I'm kind of freaking out. I'm kind of freaking out. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh god. Oh Lord God. Oh Lord God.
Am I bugging? But what the fuck is that? What the hell? What the fuck is that? Bitch, I think that's aliens! What the fuck?
Wow. A lot of people saw
Clearly that's
this.
a plane right there.
In the chat it's saying they have the same video and it changes colors too.
Moving. A bitch thinking it's fucking a shooting star hole. I don't think that shit's a fucking motherfucker. That's fucking aliens. Look at it. Fucking that one just fucking disappeared. Bitch, I'm out of words. I'm out of motherfucking words. You're not gonna tell me that's fucking alien? That's not a fucking alien?
Language.
And then check this out. This was captured in China.
Dude.
Now, what's interesting, let me just pause real quick. We're going to zoom in a little bit. What's interesting about this video is you could see like the remains of a chemtrail up on the top right there, but the bottom trail, it's super, super odd. There's like different shapes and structures in that. Look at this.
And it's moving.
There's the chemtrail from like an airplane or something, but why is that so solid and moving so perfectly like that? And then there's an object down here too. Very, very strange stuff.
What the heck?
But now we get into the absolutely weird and horrifying stuff. Take a look at this. So this triangular shaped UFO was captured apparently above Kissimmee, Florida. It's massive. You could actually see two triangular shapes if you look closely. There's like one down here below it, but this one right here is just huge. What would you do if you saw something like that above a gas station at night? Obviously, you'd probably try to film it and tell people about it. What if people didn't think it was real? What if people saw this and said, nah, that's just bullshit? But you saw it with your own eyes.
Right. Wow.
Friendly reminder, those weren't meteors falling from the sky. Now, I know a handful of powerful people on this planet want you to believe that that's still what's happening, but you know it's not.
No, it's
and in
not.
fact, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the video, the most recent video of the meteor entering our atmosphere, breaking apart, and then navigating itself to the right and to the left.
Yeah.
Because you know what? That is normal meteor behavior, isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't it? Now, I want to clarify. Source, God, Universe, and the Federation, the Galactic Federation, did not tell me to make this video. In fact, they've all told me, take a break. You don't have to talk about us anymore. But I just want to remind you, what is happening, what has happened, who is showing up, who's been here, and who is going to continue to be here cannot be stopped. There is no stopping it. Light is taking over darkness. Darkness is being kicked off of this planet. They have no power anymore. It's just up to you whether or not you're going to accept New Earth, whether or not you're going to accept the truth, because the truth is literally showing up daily, and a lot of people are still denying it. But, like I said, it's not up to me to tell you what to believe. The proof is already here.
Proof is in the proof.
Around 3 a.m., while the entire city was asleep, a camera captured something that remains a mystery to this day. It all began with strange red flashes illuminating the clouds. The lights started moving across the surface, changing direction in a strange and seemingly coordinated way. It looked as if they were searching for something. Some witnesses claim they moved with a precision that was impossible to explain, but the most disturbing moment happened afterward. Those points of light began transforming into enormous columns of light that slowly moved across the ground. From a distance, it looked like they were inspecting every corner of the area. No one understood what they were seeing, and just when it seemed like things could not get any stranger, all the lights began gathering at the same point. One after another, they moved closer until they formed a single glowing sphere that lit up the entire horizon. Then, without any explosions, smoke, or leaving behind any trace, it completely disappeared. To this day, no one has been able to explain what those images truly show. Some believe there is a logical explanation. Others are convinced that something happened that night that we were never meant to witness.
Well, you know what time it is? We got to talk, because yesterday, as I was scrolling through TikTok, what was the one video that I saw probably 30 to 40 times on my For You page? That would be the mothership that was allegedly filmed in Fort Myers. Have you seen it? You haven't? Let me show you.
From not being there to being there, and I think I just caught it.
Now, the lady who took that video said in the video that she had been watching the beach cams for weeks and weeks, hoping to get a glimpse of the mothership, and then, luck would have it, she caught that.
Cam, look.
Out of the, I would estimate around 30 to 40 videos and photos that I saw yesterday, they're all of this mothership in Fort Myers. So I want to know, have you seen this video? What do you think? I know we've been talking about motherships and UFOs and UAPs for a while now, and them making themselves known and present and visible, but have you seen this video? Have you seen a mothership with your own eyes? Do you believe that all of this is actually taking place? Because that's the conversation I want to have with you today. I have my beliefs. I want to know what yours are. And remember, anything we talk about and discuss is for learning, information, and entertainment purposes only, because it's not up to me to tell you what to believe. That's up to you. But let's have this conversation. Motherships, they're making themselves known now.
Did anyone notice the strange lights in the sky? Look here. Oh, wow. Some of them come to a full stop. What the heck are they even doing? Doesn't even make sense.
This, I think, we are very disconcerted by this thing in the sky.
What is this?
We don't know how to call it. Just watch carefully. And it's morphing itself.
Mm-hmm.
What can it be? This is in Mexico City. A video by one of our most respected sky watchers. But look, the lights and the strange dark like cloud or like strange substance around. I mean, these are the kind of sightings that we are having now in Mexico.
It's like a cloud and it has energy inside, or what? Or what?
And it's huge.
Uncover the unexplained with Mystery Portal. Report sightings anonymous.
Well, something fell from the sky
and the
but still
tornadoes
alive.
have been absolutely insane.
Right there. Yeah, you can see it too. That's a tornado. Yeah, that's definitely a tornado.
And
Here, I wanted to go back and see what the link was
We are
to
very disconcerted by this.
turn the videos in.
Visit mysterymobile.org and download the
Oh yeah, and the tornadoes have been absolutely insane.
Right there. Yeah, you can see it too. That's a tornado. Yeah, that's definitely a tornado.
And a lot of people have been seeing the sky turning green before these storms, which is also kind of abnormal. I've never seen it turn this shade of green before.
Oh, I have. When I lived in Texas and there was a tornado, it was that color in the sky. It was so eerie.
Oh, it's green.
That means it's there.
And if you guys remember, there's been reports all around the United States of like non-stop lightning.
This is actually live right now. The camera every once in a while moving around too, but that is a lot of lightning.
Hey guys, this is one of the most insane lightning strobing events I have seen in quite some time.
A lot of people in Beverly Hills, California, are all saying the same thing. They looked up at the sky and saw something they couldn't explain. At first, it seemed like a normal cloud just drifting above the city, but then it stopped moving. Like everything else, and just hovered there, holding its shape like it was alive, slowly shifting and pulling itself together like it was breathing. And the creepiest part is, it didn't follow the wind at all. It moved on its own, like it had a purpose. Witnesses said for a moment it even looked like a face forming in the sky, then collapsing back into mist over and over again, like something was trying to come through but couldn't fully make it into our world. Some people are calling it a rare atmospheric illusion, but others are convinced this wasn't natural at all. They think it was some kind of entity watching from above.
That's
and
what
once you
looks
notice it, you can't unsee it because it doesn't feel random. It feels like it's aware. So if you were standing there and it suddenly looked back at you, would you stay or would you run?
June 28th, 9:51 p.m. over Bethnal Green, London, England. It's a funny way to spell England.
That might be a joke.
No, there's no way. That is so fast.
Whoa. Did you see that? More orbs. Drones, whatever you want to call them.
Check out this one.
In the skies over California, something terrifying appeared, a series of glowing numbers, suspended high above the earth. Not airplane trails, not balloon debris, but clear, sharp digits shining so bright they sent chills down people's spines. Even stranger videos from different angles all revealed the same thing. The numbers didn't appear all at once. Instead, they slowly materialized, as if someone were typing them across the night sky. One user claimed the digits matched a passage from the Book of Revelation. Another said that when calculated, the numbers lined up almost perfectly with earthquake prediction models. Others whispered in dread that it wasn't random at all, but the beginning of a countdown.
Doesn't that kind of remind you of that show Paradise? Have you seen that show where they had the typing in the sky that said like "No More Lies" or something like that? They were doing it as a promotion for the show a while ago, but now people are saying that they're seeing these strange numbers and patterns in the sky over California.
I have some phenomenal UFO footage for you, and you're going to want to watch this video in full. This comes out of Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, captured by a witness by the name of Alan Aguilar on June 7th, 2026. She and her husband were outside when they saw what they thought was initially a Ferris wheel in the distance. But the thing is, this was no Ferris wheel, and they have confirmed that there were no drone shows, no sporting events, no concerts, no light shows scheduled for that night or even that weekend. There shouldn't have been anything out there. But then this thing seems to transform into almost like a triangular UFO. But the question everybody is asking, what was it doing? Take a look at this footage, comment below, let us know what you think.
I don't know what to tell you. Except for it's hot in here.
Families are enjoying a day at the park, unaware they are about to witness something unbelievable.
it a cross? Heck no, it's not a cross. What is that?
Suddenly, what was once a strange light orb turns into a massive glitching image in the clear sky. Definitely alien.
Looks like a dude. A white dude. Just hanging out in the sky.
This video leaves us wondering what's indeed lurking in the sky.
Someone filmed this in the sky. First it looks like clouds. But then, watch carefully. Wait for it. Something appears in the clouds. It starts moving, not edited. Clouds don't move like this. It looks like a person walking on clouds. People slowed the footage. The shape becomes clearer. Still walking. What is that? Look at the legs. Then something strange happens. It suddenly fades and disappears. So what did they film? We may never know. Pinwheels in the sky, like little galaxies. But with the music, I can't have that. So, I don't know, is this SpaceX? I'm not sure. That's what I've heard it is. But, like I said, they tell us so many lies, it's hard to believe. What is real? What is true? What is false? This is definitely like AI. Yes, mosquito rings. What?
Don't believe what you see.
Mysterious blue spiral above skies of Britain leaves everyone speechless. Aliens have made contact with Earth. The bizarre shape is caused by frozen fuel. Quickly turns to ice in the freezing expanse of space. Brits are baffled, so what is it? Or it might look like aliens have made contact with Earth. The bizarre shape was caused by frozen fuel expelled from a SpaceX rocket. Told ya. Which is illuminated by the sun in the upper atmosphere, giving it an otherworldly glow. Visited. Yeah, it's 2025. What? It's not Buddha, that's just the shadow of the building. Oh yeah, the storm's coming. DIY smoke rings with a fog machine. What do we got? Ooh. Yeah, I think that's Starlink. Yeah, that's Starlink. Yep. That's moving faster. That's like a shooting star. Yeah, that's Starlink. I saw it coming directly down my driveway. Well, I'm not ready for snow yet. What is it? Oh, UFO, you say? Wow. Yeah, I don't see a thing. How did you even see anything in this picture? Mysterious flaming object. What? Visibility of planets in March 2026. Yeah. Mysterious sky orbs are so creepy looking. Loki looks like a bubble, except it's not. Plasmoids. How does that explain orbs in the sky all around the world? Yeah, supposedly that is mosquitoes. We're getting into some AI stuff. Alright. Go to Conspiracy Land. Are you ready?
Most insane internet rabbit holes that are oddly convincing, part 6-7. Jet fuel is a hoax, and airplanes don't actually burn fuel to fly, but rather use an energy source that's gonna have you questioning everything. Just a fun theory for entertainment purposes only. So this is a plane. It flies in the air using jet fuel, or so we're told. A typical Boeing 747 carries about 64,000 gallons or 242,000 liters of fuel. That's a lot. A literal metric ton. Actually, about 193 metric tons to be exact. But let me ask you something that you've probably never thought of before. Where the hell do they put it? Like, this is what a 60,000 gallon water tank looks like. That's a person for scale. It's massive. We're told that more than this amount of fuel is stored in the wings of the plane, and that part's not a myth, that's actually what they tell us. And the question people are asking is, where? How exactly do 64,000 gallons fit in these wings? Like, this entire tank is really squeezed into those thin sheets of metal? It just visually doesn't make any sense. And then think about the time that it takes for an airplane to refuel. When you're at an airport, you usually don't see the fuel pump connected to the plane for more than a couple minutes at a time. A regular car takes only about 12 gallons of fuel, and let's say 2 minutes to fill up. Even if these jet fuel pumps pumped at 10 times the rate of a regular car gas pump, do the math, and it should take around 9 hours to fill just half of the plane's 64,000 gallon capacity. Yet we somehow never see a plane getting pumped for more than a couple minutes, if even at all. Sure, they'll tell you these jet fuel pumps are actually way more powerful than that, and can pump fuel at a rate hundreds of times faster than car gas pumps, all going through this hose with a 1 to 2 inch inner diameter, which is actually how wide they are on the inside. Go search it up. All of this fuel which goes to power the turbines, and this is where it starts getting fun. Because here's what a turbine from a typical airline jet looks like, pretty standard. And here's the ceiling of the Hoysala temple in India, an ancient temple that is said to have been built around 1150 AD, but some argue it could be much, much older than that. Now, ancient India has some of the wildest temple architecture and design anywhere on Earth, like Kailash, a whole ass temple that was carved into the bedrock of the cliff around it, an absolute marvel of ancient engineering. The pillars found inside these temples are so symmetrical, so insanely detailed, they look like they're 3D printed, made hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, and also appear to have been made for much more than just aesthetic purpose, because the engineering behind these pillars is nothing short of miraculous, with moving stone parts that can be physically rotated like they're part of a machine. Some of them aren't even connected to the ground, and just how on earth did they pull that off? Meanwhile, others can fully rotate and spin around. Like, we're talking stone pillars built over 800 years ago, engineered like modern machinery. And I don't see any reason why anyone would go through the painstaking lengths of making stone pillars that can spin unless they had a functional purpose. Oh look, here's one with a stone ball inside of it. Just how? Anyway, these ancient Indian temples really deserve their own video, which I'll cover some other time, but for now, let's focus on the pillars. These pillars are so meticulously designed with incredible incredible laser-like detail and precision, near-perfect circular symmetry that looked like they were made with modern technology, and also happened to be in a similar shape of an airplane turbine engine. This is where we go a little off the rails. Remember, entertainment purposes only, right? Many fringe theories state that ancient temples and buildings like these were actually power plants that provided energy for past civilizations, like the pyramids of Egypt in the Giza power plant theory, and the same is thought of the temples of ancient India like Kailash and Hoysala, which used specific ancient mechanisms and esoteric knowledge to harness atmospheric energy from the sky to power their ancient societies. I told you this was going to get weird. Well, now it's being said that same technology is actually being used in modern airplanes, which only use the jet fuel to take off, and once they reach a certain altitude, they tap into this atmospheric energy to stay lifted and move fast, which they would have better access to because of how high planes fly, and that's where this energy is supposedly found. Tartaria technology, Nikola Tesla technology, 0-point energy being used right under our noses, all while taking money out of our pockets with expensive plane tickets, blaming it on the copious amount of jet fuel they allegedly need, when they're actually just using the free, unlimited atmospheric energy harnessed by our ancestors. Absolutely insane, I know. But listen, a Boeing 747 can weigh up to 220 tons, while an Airbus 380 can go up to 600 tons. Have you ever stopped to think about how much of a modern miracle it is for a 600-ton metal behemoth to fly through the air for 16 plus hours on end? And all it takes is 4 of these jet turbines, for how powerful they are, aren't even really used anywhere else except for aviation. But even so, someone has to make these engines, and surely it would be much too difficult to keep something like this a secret with hundreds of companies all manufacturing them, right? Well, actually no, because only 3 companies own 99% of all turbine manufacturing in the world: GE Aerospace, Pratt & Whitney, and Rolls-Royce. Any other manufacturer is in some way associated with these big 3. And of course, all of these companies have the usual suspects, Vanguard and BlackRock, as their top shareholders, the 2 mega companies that own everything, who control the 3 companies that essentially power every airline on the planet, also making it almost impossible for anyone else to make their own commercial turbines, with regulations, gatekeepers, certifications, and import controls, to keep their oligopoly in power and free from independent producers to keep this technology as close to their chest as possible. Like, are 4 of these turbines really enough to keep a 600-ton airplane suspended in the air, traveling at hundreds of miles an hour for hours on end, propelled by just the air? I mean, maybe they are. This is what internet rabbit holes are all about after all. Roast me in the comments if you disagree.
We work for a company that helps people fake their own deaths.
And no, we didn't kill anybody. We just make the world believe they're already dead.
When we got hired, we thought it was a witness protection for rich people.
Then our boss handed us a photo and said, by Friday, this man needs to be dead.
He was a tech investor who wanted to disappear before an investigation caught up with him.
So we staged a boating accident. His necklace washed ashore. His phone disappeared. Everybody bought it.
Meanwhile, he was in our car holding a new passport with a new name.
That was our job. Erase one life, build another.
But the company had one rule everyone took way too seriously.
Once we declared you dead, you stayed dead.
At first, we thought that meant no calling family and no going home.
But then we started seeing former clients in places they absolutely should not have been.
One guy we helped disappear showed up 2 years later at a private meeting.
Another was caught walking into a building owned by our company.
So one night, we stayed late and opened files we were never supposed to see.
There wasn't hundreds of clients. There were thousands.
Some of the records went back decades.
And some of these people...
Did you guys know that the Rothschilds are in the Bible? I mean, that is crazy.
Had never hired us.
Their files said the company had chosen them.
Then one of our newest clients finally told us what was happening.
He was a billionaire who discovered people were legally dead, but still moving money and making decisions behind the scenes.
He wanted to join them.
A week later, we drove him to a private airfield to disappear for good.
Standing beside the plane were faces we recognized from old news stories.
People whose funerals had happened years ago.
That's when we realized our company wasn't helping people escape the world.
It was helping them control it without anyone knowing they were alive.
We went back to the office and searched the system one last time.
2 brand new client files appeared.
Mine had a photo. His had a photo.
Both had dates scheduled for our deaths. To watch the full video, click the link in our...
This video is going to sound absolutely insane to people who do not think conspiracy theories or like any videos like that. Or if you simply just don't believe me, you are going to think I'm crazy. I'd like to start off with this video saying the closer you are to the truth, the crazier you sound. And no, I do not plan on doing anything to myself. I also must say that this is just an opinion and just a conspiracy theory, okay? In no way, shape or form am I telling you that this is the truth. This is just my opinion. The government, celebrities, higher-ups, people in power, billionaires are actively playing in our faces and we allow it to happen. We know so much more of the truth than we realise. It's all over the internet. It's right in front of your faces and you just refuse to believe it, which is exactly what the government want. They put the truth right in front of you, but because it sounds so insane, you refuse to believe it. But that's exactly what's happening. There is videos of celebrities doing rituals and things like that. Who is Palm Beach Pete and why does he look the exact same as Epstein? Why is he acting like Epstein? Why is he throwing it out there that he is Epstein? It's a test. It is a test to prove that we are stupid. In their eyes, we are so gullible that they can do whatever they want. Just think about it for a second. Think about it, okay? Palm Beach Pete, if he isn't Epstein, has no relation to Epstein or anything like that at all, doesn't even know who he is, why would you turn around and bait yourself out and make other people think that you are that man when that man is a monster? Why would you wake up and choose to do that? Why? The answer is, any normal person, like me, like you, we would not do that. We would not do that. But someone who's been given an offer they can't refuse would do that. Now, if you don't believe that that's the reason of Palm Beach Pete, you can believe the other reason. Let's think about this logically, okay? If me or you were one of those men, like Epstein, an absolute monster, you would have to have a plan. You would tell people before you got caught, because you know what you're doing is so outrageous. If you do get caught, you cannot walk the earth again, okay? You will not be able to. So what can you do? The only thing you can do is tell everyone you have a twin before you get caught. So then when all this shit goes down, you can walk the earth and everyone will just believe that you're someone else. There will be the people out there, like for example the people that call Palm Beach Pete Epstein, but what do they get listed as? Crazy. There's also the question of, okay, if it is Epstein, why don't they just do a DNA test? Why don't they just find out? The people that you want to do that, the people that can help do that, were at the parties with him, okay? You ain't getting the help from those people. Which leads me back to the government are playing in your face, okay? Palm Beach Pete and Epstein is just an example of what I'm trying to tell you. Now, I'm not very smart with my words, okay? I am very smart when it comes to this stuff, but I can't talk in big words or political words. I'm not very good at that. So this video could make absolutely no sense, okay? But I enjoy talking about it. I absolutely love the concept of conspiracy theories and all this kind of stuff, because to me they're not conspiracy theories. The amount of evidence that comes with these things, the amount of facts and proof that comes with it, they are just genuinely so believable. Especially with the concept of people who disappear when they talk about this kind of stuff. Celebrities that talk about it come back and they're a complete different person for a while and then they go back to normal like they just had a manic episode. It just makes me think, because no matter who you are, no matter what you say, you tell the truth and you are listed as crazy. Even if you are a celebrity, then you come back looking absolutely completely different and then people just say that you had a manic episode and now all of a sudden you're back to the same person who follows what the government ask. I'm not sure if any of this video makes sense. I'm so sorry for not posting as well. My vanity broke, okay? But let me know what conspiracy theories you want me to talk about, because I enjoy it. I absolutely love it so much. And again, I'm so sorry if this doesn't make sense. Anyways, I love you. Thanks for watching. Bye.
This is going to be an hour-long video on some of the most major conspiracy theories that are out there. So we're going to do like, 10 to 15 minutes on each of the major ones. So buckle in, get comfortable, get ready. Save this video for later so you can watch it while you're getting ready for work or taking a big long dump, either one, okay? So we're going to have a fun little twist tie into this, but don't let it scare you away, all right? And we're going to tie this into animes. And what I mean by that is there are several majorly popular animes that talk about major conspiracy theories in their own storyline. And it overlaps with our conspiracy theories perfectly fine. So if you don't like anime, it's okay. I'm just going to briefly talk about the ones that tie into these major theories. And the first one is the fact that we might be inside of an ice wall and we are actually just living on part of the planet that exists around us, and Antarctica is not a continent that lives way down below us, but it's actually an ice wall that goes all the way around what we have, and we've been lied to for a really long time. What that ties back into is an anime. There's two of them, actually. The first one is Attack on Titan. So Attack on Titan, and spoiler warnings, getting ready for you, okay? Attack on Titan, this whole show, you're watching these people that are stuck inside of these city walls, and there's these literal giant monsters that will eat them, and if they ever go outside of the city walls, they're constantly getting chased by these giant monsters and eaten by them. So finally, they get past the giant monsters, and they find that they run into the ocean. And then they sail across the ocean and find out that the rest of the world has lived completely normal, and they, because their ancestors were being punished for a crime, were essentially sent to that island to live on, and then they inhabited the island with monsters to keep them from ever getting off the island. And it's been that way for centuries. And none of them were old enough to remember that happening, obviously, and the story just got lost over time. There is a huge theory that we are prisoners inside of our own little ice wall circle, and that UFOs that you see is actually like our wardens just kind of coming to check on us every once in a while. Guards. So the theory of this goes that the ice wall exists, and we are what's called Middle Earth, kind of like Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth. And outside of Middle Earth, outside of the ice ring, there are other continents, there's other countries, there's all this different stuff going on. Admiral Byrd did an expedition down to Antarctica, and this was one of the, the generals of the military, one of the leaders of the military. I don't know why I said that. Admiral Byrd, Admiral, whatever his rank was. He took a whole expedition down there, and he literally got deemed insane and was like cast out and made to be like this crazy person because he wrote about what he saw when he went to Antarctica, and he described on the other side of Antarctica was this vast openness that he could not describe because there was like this massive void, and there was crafts coming in and out of the void. He described there was warm air coming off of it. Just go down that rabbit hole on your own. That's what this video is for. This video is to introduce you to tons of rabbit holes. But then for my anime lovers and fans, or to turn people onto animes, I'm throwing those in there on how they relate to actual conspiracies. So there's a lot of people that believe that Antarctica is not what it's said to be because you are not allowed to go there on your own free willing. And people always jump at me. You can buy expeditions to Antarctica.
Oliver Tree did. I would love to see Oliver Tree's expedition to Antarctica.
Yeah, it's a controlled expedition where they take you to a very specific spot. It's a guide who does it, and that's it. You're touching you're grazing the outer skirt of a massive ice wall that we're talking about here that could go on for no one knows how far. We can't agree on anything. All of our countries that are at odds, China, United States, Russia, we're always at odds with each other, but yet we can all agree, hey, legally do not let your citizens go to Antarctica. There is not a country in the world where this rule does not apply. You can't go. You can't do it. They will shoot your boat out of the water. If you take your boat close enough to Antarctica to figure this out for yourself, patrol boats will come up from multiple different nations and say, turn around now, or we're going to blow your boat out of this water. That's how serious they are about it. Because to me, if you choose to go down there, you're not going to endanger anyone but yourself. Yeah. Why not let you do that? Yeah. Just let you do it. And a lot of people say, oh, it's for your own protection, it's for your own safety. No, it's not. No, it's not. They let people climb Mount Everest every day.
Oh, yeah.
You know how many people die climbing Mount Everest every year? Like tons. Die every year climbing Mount Everest. So if they would exclude us from just doing things that are really
they're landmarks.
Unsafe, they would exclude a lot of stuff. They would exclude driving your car. It's... If you wanted to go to Antarctica, you should be legally allowed to go. If there's truly nothing there for us to find, if there's no secrets to hide, Antarctica is so rich in minerals. It has like what they call the blood waterfalls because the waterfalls look like they're bleeding because minerals are spilling out of the side of them. But no country wants that. No country's going to claim that. We've claimed a lot of stuff for a whole lot less. To me, they are hiding something there. And Attack on Titan, I think, does a great job. That anime does a great job of putting the what if out there because its own people no longer knew that they were prisoners and captives because they had lived there for so long. What if our heads of power are either planted here from the other side? Because weirdly enough, like all of our presidents are all related to each other. Literally, George Bush, Barack Obama, all those guys, they're all cousins. They're all related somehow. What if they're planted here to be our world leaders? What if they're not planning here to be our world leaders, but what if the world leaders are given the knowledge of this deal, of this treaty, like, hey, you stay on your side of the wall or we'll eradicate you. You are essentially prisoners, stay on your side. Who knows? I don't, if this other civilization is so advanced, that could be what we talked about with Atlantis. A long time ago, they used to say that we traded with Atlantis. Maybe we got cut off from the trade routes. They're like, okay, no, we were trying to be nice and trade with you, because in olden days, they described Atlantis of being very advanced, very sophisticated, wearing clothes that no one else knew about. They might have, at some point, tried to open the route back up and trade with us, and they're like, no, you know what? That's not worth it. You guys are savages, essentially.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Crazy.
The other side of this conspiracy is that on the other side of this ice wall is that it's things that are not like us. And it might be the reason why sometimes we see cryptids. It might be the reason why sometimes we see demons. It's just things we don't understand. And the other side of the ice wall is what would be a good throwback to the anime The Promised Neverland. If you've never watched The Promised Neverland, it's essentially they are a human farm. They don't. I'm sorry, spoiler warning. They think they're growing up, living a normal life, and then they find out that when they get shipped out, they're not getting shipped out to where they think they're going. They're getting shipped out to the other side of the half of the split of the Earth, which would be the ice wall, and they are literally being eaten because Earth as they knew it, life as they knew it, they were a human farm. They were a human farm, and we're all essentially being human farms, and they didn't know that. Now, The Promised Neverland has some different twists to it. If you want to watch it, I'm not going to say much more about that. But a lot of people have said this theory of the ice wall might be literally like on Game of Thrones or something, where there is another race on the other side and they do not like us, and maybe in the past we didn't like them, and both the powers that be on both sides said, I'll stay on my side, you'll stay on your side. We're not prisoners like the theory of Indigo, but this theory would point to, maybe there was some great conflict and the ice wall is just a natural barrier where they said, hey, you have that side, I'll have this side over here. This gets all into the flat earth and the round earth theory. I don't want to go down that hole today. If you look at our podcast, we did an hour-long video on this. And if you're just now realizing this, we do have a podcast. So if you're on Facebook or TikTok.
I think we all remember the Challenger explosion that took place in 1986 that tragically took the lives of all 7 astronauts on board. And someone allegedly found almost all of those astronauts alive and well. Now, if you'll notice, they all have the exact same faces 30-some-odd years later, the same exact name, and they are the same age.
Now let's focus on Dick Scobie for a second, whose full name at the time of the Challenger mission is actually Francis Richard Scobie. If you don't know, Dick is short for Richard, but we'll get to that. Francis Richard Scobie would be around 75 years old if he were alive today. Now this man, Richard, or Dick Scobie, is alive today, and also is currently the age that Francis Scobie would be. Now if you were to show someone these two photos side by side, they would unquestionably believe that it is the same person, right? I mean, just look at the brow, look at the eyes, look at the nose, look at the little gap in the teeth even. Now, Dick Scobie today currently runs an advertising company called Cows and Trees, and this is their logo. Kind of an interesting choice, wouldn't you agree? As of course many people are making this comparison.
My God. There's been an explosion.
2,900 feet per second, altitude 9 nautical miles, downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
Now, entertaining the possibility that this is some kind of conspiracy, I'm sure back then they didn't really think that the internet would be around today where people could do this kind of research. So, of course, they're trying to silence this, as when you try and Google it, you don't get many results. And if you speak out, you get silenced.
I'm gonna have to stop.
Sir, this is a public comment. I have a direct request that, will you let me finish for at least 10 seconds?
No, sir, you're finished.
Thank you for taking away my freedom of speech today in here.
I did not take away your freedom of speech.
Yeah, you did.
I don't want to hear it from you people down here.
Just because this is an uncomfortable
topic. Officers, please remove this man from the room.
They wanted me to find out if there was such a thing as a poison that was undetectable, especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack.
They wanted a poison that left no trace. Even during an autopsy, Mary got to work. She tested dozens of toxins. Eventually, she found what she was looking for, shellfish toxin. In concentrated doses, it could shut down the human heart. And even better for the CIA, it could disappear from the body. The CIA took Mary's discovery and built a weapon around it. They froze the toxin into a tiny dart made of ice. Then they loaded that dart into a modified pistol. The gun made almost no sound when fired. When the dart hit someone, it felt like an insect bite. Most people would ignore that sensation. But inside the body, the damage would start instantly. The dart would melt, releasing the shellfish toxin into the bloodstream. The victim would experience a massive heart attack, and that would be the end. When doctors performed an autopsy, they would find no strange substances, just a tiny red dot where the dart entered the skin. Nobody would think much of it. The death would be listed as natural causes. The CIA now had an untraceable weapon, and they could take out anyone they wanted. It's not clear how many times the heart attack gun was used, but one thing is certain. The CIA stockpiled large amounts of shellfish toxins and hid them in a lab. The shellfish toxin was the untraceable poison used in the gun. Over the years, things changed. In the mid-1970s, the CIA came under investigation. Congress heard reports that the agency was involved in illegal activities, so they formed a committee to investigate the CIA. Senator Frank Church led the probe. He and his team found a stockpile of weapons and toxins inside CIA labs and warehouses. One of those weapons was the heart attack gun. Eventually, the CIA director was invited before a congressional committee to answer questions. The hearing was broadcast on live TV. During the questioning, the pistol was held up for the entire country to see. The CIA director was asked about the weapon.
Does this pistol fire the dart? Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman, and a special one was developed.
The country was shocked, and conspiracy theories were thrilled. There it was, proof that the CIA developed an illegal, untraceable assassination weapon. But one question has never been answered. Was it ever actually used successfully? The CIA never said, and they likely never will. Our next chapter raises a question. How much of what the news tells you is actually true? The CIA news conspiracy. The news is supposed to tell the truth, but people believe the government was secretly controlling the news that people heard, and they believe that certain journalists were actually government agents hired to push certain narratives and bury others. The government called it a conspiracy theory, but evidence began to show. It started with a student organization. In February 1967, it was revealed that the largest student group in the US was funded and run by the CIA. On the surface, the group looked independent. It presented itself as a friendly voice for young Americans, but behind the scenes, the CIA was quietly paying it to spread government propaganda to students. The agency also used students as spies. They were told to collect information from foreigners and pass it back to the CIA. The New York Times put the story on the front page. This revelation encouraged reporters to dig deeper. They wanted to find all the ways the CIA was secretly influencing the public, and then they stumbled onto something much bigger than they expected. In 1975, the New York Times suspected that some news reporters were secretly working with the CIA. When they investigated, they found out they were right. They discovered the CIA had a network of journalists inside major American newspapers and TV networks. The head of the CIA was called before Congress to answer for it. He admitted part of it was true.
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Some journalists also admitted that the CIA contacted them to spread certain stories.
We had been contacted by the CIA. As a matter of fact, by the time I became the head of the whole news and public affairs operation in 1954, ships had been established.
Congress identified over 50 active journalists on the CIA payroll, but the actual number was much larger. In 1977, another investigation revealed that over 400 American journalists carried out assignments for the CIA over a period of 25 years. These weren't small-time writers. They were evening news anchors, award-winning reporters, and Pulitzer Prize winners. People who ordinary Americans trusted deeply. CIA documents also revealed the agency could plant fake stories in foreign newspapers, and those same stories could be picked up by American media and reported it as real news.
This would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country.
The CIA was essentially writing the news. It was such a big scandal that the president got involved. In 1977, a presidential order banned the CIA from using journalists. The message to the public was clear. It was over. It would not happen again. But not everyone believed that. Almost 20 years passed. In February 1996, a new CIA director appeared before a Senate committee. He was there to discuss threats to U.S. information systems. A senator asked him a direct question. Would the CIA promise to never recruit journalists again? The CIA director could not say yes. Instead, he gave an answer with a loophole.
The policy says that we will not use journalists except under American journalists, except under very, very rare circumstances.
They found a massive cave system on the moon. And this is mind-blowing to me because our world is so science fictional. Like, think about like right now, somebody technically, in theory, could be in an astronaut suit, go into the moon, and then like just getting in one of these caves. It's pretty wild. They think these cave systems were formed because there was like lava tubes that had collapsed and made these cave systems. Yeah, the moon used to have tons of lava inside of it. And yeah, it's just mind-blowing to me to think that, you know, supposedly we landed on the moon. I don't think we did. Supposedly we landed on the moon, and there could have been like caves that could have gone down and explored. Because when I've always thought about like Jupiter and Saturn and Mars and the moon, I just think of like a big ball, right? You don't think of like there being these massive canyons like the Grand Canyon, and there being caves that you can go into and all that stuff. And like we're supposed to believe that all that's devoid of life. I ain't buying it. This cave system was about 250 miles away from where they supposedly landed, which is the same equivalent as driving from like Oklahoma City to Dallas. Now these pictures are just theories of what they look like because they found these by doing like different like laser scans and like thermal scans. And that's just neat because I've always heard these like rumors and conspiracies that the moon is actually like an artificial base that aliens come in and out of, and that's how they observe our Earth. And now when you see these caves and these tubes, like are they caves and tubes or are they landing pads and docks? Like think about the movie Star Wars when there's the Death Star. The Death Star looks just like the moon. And think about like how those ships come and go in the trenches and the little ducts and stuff of the Death Star. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not saying it is, but I kind of am saying that's what it is. Because to me, if we really did go to the moon, why have we never gone back? A lot of people are like, there's no point to go back. Well, then why are we still studying the moon? If there's no point to go back, why do we keep studying it? And the only answer I can come to is that we never went in the first place. That's why we're not going again, because we can't. A lot of science today talks about how much dust would kick up and all this other stuff. And I think people are silly to believe that we had the capabilities to live stream that. You're talking about back then, they did not have good enough service to like
try to talk to somebody on the phone while you're going through a canyon or something. Like, give me a break.
Get a phone call out to most places, but somehow we had perfect real-time transmission from that far away. Like, just think about that for a second. Like, really think about it. A lot of people that claim to be so smart, and they're like, oh, of course we went to the moon. Just think about the technology that it would take to... No, I'm not even saying that, like, we didn't have the technology to physically go to the moon. I'm saying that we could have. But that whole live streaming thing, that was so that was so fake. Think about this right now. You can get on Facebook and live stream and like lose signal by going like over the hill on a Facebook live stream today in 2026. But you're telling me they live streamed it seamlessly with like no issues back then? No.
Lies. All lies.
All my tech geeks out there know that we did not have the technology to put on that production. And that's exactly what it was, a production back then. That's it. So if we did go to the moon, I'm not saying we didn't. If we did go to the moon, I'm saying that all that live streaming stuff, all those videos you saw, that wasn't legit. There's literally no possible way. Did you know that the original moon landing footage has technically been lost? Anything you see is a copy of a copy. The original footage that they took of us going to the moon has been lost. The most important video in mankind's history.
And all the technology to get there again. Are you freaking serious? We lost it. We don't know what happened to it, so we haven't gone back. Give me a break.
They just forgot where they put it. No one knows. That's the official answer. Go ahead, Google it. Google it. Do we know where the original moon landing footage is? The answer is no, we don't.
No, we don't.
Weirdly enough, also, the technology to go to the moon, we lost that too. Go ahead and Google that. Did we lose the technology to go to the moon? And the official answer is yes, we lost that technology.
Yeah, we did.
The biggest piece of shit you ever read. And I just went ahead and looked it up for you, okay? Because the answer is that it wasn't lost. They think that it was accidentally erased, the original footage. They think the original footage was accidentally erased. Like somebody just taped over it, like your mom taped over your wedding video with a soap opera or something. Like, that's what they think actually happened. The most important footage of human history, we just accidentally just taped over. Yeah, like we just taped like an NFL game or something.
Yeah, it wasn't put in, the... What is that museum? I can't remember. But you know what I'm talking about. The major museum. Where they save or hoard everything they're keeping from us. Just like the Vatican does underground.
Over it.
That's what they say. Bullshit, dude.
That's it. And I think the real reason why they say that is because today with computer software, people have done it time and time and time again. They have pointed out so many flaws with modern day computer softwares, and they have analyzed copies of that footage. But here's the thing. because you can't analyze the original footage. No one can ever truly debunk it, because anything that you analyze now with modern technology, you're analyzing a copy of original footage, which is not the original file footage of the videos. And I think if we saw the original version of the video, we would see all the flaws in it. And I think that's why it had to be lost to history, because they could not afford for it to be.
Okay, so Neil Armstrong is the first person to step onto the moon. Who was out there filming it? How did the film get through the Van Allen belt twice without having erasage issues? You know, you send your camera or whatever back in the day when it was film and not digital, and I'm not even sure how that works today, but erasing footage, video footage, picture footage, because of the radiation of the scan of the x-ray of your things, making sure you don't have a gun or a bomb or a stash of knives or whatever.
Real. A lot of people always ask me, well, why would they fake it? If you don't know a lot about history, you wouldn't know why they would fake it.
It was
and the
race
reason
for space.
Would be this. We were in the Cold War, and there was something going on called the space race, and we essentially could not beat Russia in a war if it came down to it. We knew this. So we essentially had to bankrupt them by making it seem like we had some kind of space technology that they did not have. And they were terrified that we had a space laser. I'm being dead serious. That we were going to the moon to set up a space laser to beam them with laser beams. I'm being dead serious. That is a true historical fact of why we would have faked the moon landing. Because they'd already beat us with Sputnik on the satellites. It's a wild rabbit hole to go down of why we had to bankrupt them, because we could not fight them. And it bankrupted them because they spent tons and tons and tons and tons of money to try to recreate going to the moon like we did. And guess what conclusion they came to?
Can't be done.
They couldn't do it. Because I don't think we did it either.
No.
The whole block is just dark. This one has like...
I traced every condo in this LA skyscraper. The rumor is true. EP so far, part 1. Holy shnikes.
230 units that are vacant, and you can immediately see it with your eyes. It's like something everybody talks about and suspects.
Some sort of human
but nobody's
experiment.
really proven it. The fact that maybe some of these luxury high-rises are empty and there's nobody living in it. Like, there's so many things going on downtown, you know, like a new skyscraper or a high-rise.
Yeah, where
but,
is
like,
everybody?
It doesn't seem like people actually live in them, and nobody's actually tested it before, so I went and got the ownership records for every condo unit on this block, the Metropolis development, which is one of the biggest in LA, and I confirmed that the rumors are true, because almost a third of the condos here are vacant, empty. And not only vacant, but owned by the same owner, the original developer, Greenland from China. Like, the company's name is Greenland USA, like not the country of Greenland. I'll get to how I figured that out in a minute, but I figured it's a good time to count the vacancy rate of these luxury condos, because, you know, LA is in one of the worst housing crises in history. People don't have a place to live, or they can't afford it, and yet we have so many buildings. We see buildings going up left and right.
When I was younger, I drew the Thomas building, and it was a skyscraper that went straight up, and then it like had a side slant at the top. So, you know, about 5 or 6 floors, maybe more, were cut in half because it had this flat, sharp top. But it was for people that were homeless and recovering addicts, etc., etc. It was called the Thomas Building, because that was my last name. And it was for homeless, drug addicts, etc., etc. This is the kind of stuff I would draw plans up for when I was a kid. That's pretty epic.
It's like there's a new luxury building going up every other day, but there's still people without housing. So with so much construction, why is there not enough housing? Like, something doesn't make sense.
Metropolis has 4 buildings, 1 hotel, 2 condo towers, and a 4th tower of rental apartments, finished between 2016 and 2019.
There is a statistic almost no one talks about. Of the estimated thousands of individuals who have reported contact with grey extraterrestrials, a small but consistent percentage never reported anything again. Not because they stopped believing, not because they recanted, because they were never seen again. Missing persons cases with no leads, no bodies, no explanations, filed away and forgotten. The families left behind described the same sequence of events, the same lights, the same nights, the same silence afterward. Who are the ones who didn't come back? I want to start with a number, not a dramatic number, a quiet one. In 1992, the rope...
The real MJ found buried at Neverland. This can't be true.
What?
Right? 1984, Michael? 1985, Michael. This is for educational and entertainment purposes. Curious to know your thoughts in the comment section. What really happened to Michael?
Now, I love a good conspiracy theory. This one is around the great Michael Jackson. From user Tayani Gulat. She says this is not the real Michael Jackson. Check out this theory. And this is for entertainment purposes only.
Poor Michael.
Okay, since the math not math, let's see if we can make this math a little bit better. I put the first cover up. You can go back and you can Google this for yourself. Make sure you Google Neverland Ranch investigators discover corpse of real Michael Jackson. This article was written in 2005 or published in 2005, as you can see. I'm going to read what the coroner says from my other phone. Coroners have officially pronounced Michael Jackson dead. From that we can tell, we is the coroners. He, Michael Jackson, died between 18 and 20 years ago. Forensic investigator Tim Holbrook said, "We are not certain at this time who or what has been standing trial in that Santa Maria courthouse." It goes on to say, according to Holbrook, Jackson corpse was buried just inches below a stretch of the miniature train tracks that ran throughout Maryland. The largely desiccated corpse wore the remains of a red, zipper-covered leather jacket and a single glove. Now, they says that we positively identified the body as Jackson by his dental records and DNA, Holbrook said. But even before we conducted a single forensic test, we began to suspect that we uncovered the real Michael, and that the disturbing figure claiming to be Jackson was a fake. I'm saying this to clarify once again, that just because they aired something in one year does not mean that it took place in that year. So check it. Holbrook said that although the corpse was in an advanced stage of decomposition, the investigators compared the body to earlier career publicity photos of Jackson. They saw a striking resemblance in bone structure and facial features. But when they compared the body to the photos taken after 1987, the resemblance was negligible. So basically here, what you may be finding out now is that from 1979 to 1987, they was using reels that had already been pre-recorded of Michael Jackson. Not only that, a little sidebar here. There was a letter said that Michael Jackson had written back in 1979, saying that he no longer wanted to be known as Michael Jackson. Go Google that. He no longer wants to be known as Michael Jackson, but that he wants to be known as MJ. He wants to kill off the character, Michael Jackson, the one that they had built from his childhood, that he was no longer happy with. Yeah, so when he decided that he no longer wanted to be their money machine, what do you think they did to him? Yeah, it tells you 18 to 20 years prior to before 2005 that they found the remains of Michael Jackson buried on his motherfucking property, and that there was an imposter, a fake Michael Jackson, standing in his place now. So who's the Michael Jackson with the Jerry curl? So mind you, 18 to 20 years back from 2005 when they published this article would have been the late 70s, like 79 to 1980, somewhere in that early stage frame, way before the posting of the Pepsi commercial, 83, 84. That does not mean that the Pepsi commercial was not recorded before 83, 84. It just means that they aired that commercial in 83, 84. They go on to say, this discovery raises a lot of questions, but it also sheds light on a number of disturbing incidents, Holbrook said, Frankly, Jackson had been acting pretty strange all of a sudden. Now get this here. Forensic experts and music critics are postulating that Jackson was dead before the release of the multi-platinum album, Bad. Detectives are currently analyzing the lyrics to Man in the Mirror.
That makes a lot of sense,
There are clues
actually.
relating to a look-alike entity, a look-alike entity, a look-alike entity.
Yeah, there's genuinely something disturbing going on here. Bear with me, because there's a lot to unpack here. So Hayden Panettiere died on August 16th, 2026, at the age of 36. She was found unresponsive in a residence in Greenville, South Carolina. Emergency responders attempted to resuscitate, but she was pronounced dead at approximately 2:32 p.m. Reports from the 911 response indicate cardiac arrest and a suspected overdose. Panettiere has been very public about her history with alcohol and addiction, but we don't yet have a toxicology determination establishing exactly what caused her death. Then there's the Jay Shetty interview. This is where things become especially unsettling. In May of 2026, only about 3 months before her death, Panettiere appeared on the Jay Shetty On Purpose podcast. During the interview, she brought up an extremely disturbing episode from her late teens. Panettiere said that when she was 18, she had been invited onto a boat by a woman she trusted. Instead, Panettiere said that she was led downstairs into a small room. Inside was an undressed, extremely famous man. She said the woman essentially instructed her to get into the bed with him, and entering what she categorized as survival response. She escaped and ended up hiding elsewhere on the boat until she was able to get away. That's terrifying. When her memoir was released, Panettiere provided substantially more information. She identified the protector woman in question as Stella. Stella had become a trusted older friend who made her feel protected and looked after. The boat was a super yacht in France, and Panettiere described it as an environment populated by wealthy and famous people. And the man was described in the memoir as famous 30-something British singer-songwriter. And that omission is what sent the internet into detective mode. There's been several internet attempts to match the description to various British musicians. The biggest name to come out of this has been James Blunt. He fits the criteria and was pretty much at his height of famousness at the time from the song that everybody knows. What's even stranger is that James Blunt comes out with a music video that releases showing himself on a boat with an individual behind him with a bag over their head. What the hell is that? There is definitely more going on here, so stay tuned as I keep you up to date on it.
Flat Earth is the most curious conspiracy theory out there.
I'd say like 3 or 4 years ago. Never mind. I'm not even going to get into it, but...
Because even though everyone treats it as a joke, a huge number of people genuinely believe it. So I went and found out what they actually think. And I'll be honest with you, it's not what I expected.
Does this guy look like an AI or what?
I'm not a religious guy, so when I say this whole thing is religious at its core, I mean that's just what it is, not that I'm selling it to you. It starts with the belief that the entire world is being lied to on purpose, that the God of the Bible is real, and something is working very hard to keep people away from him, and the shape of the planet is the tool being used to do it. Here's the logic. If the Earth is a ball floating in endless space, the old story stops making sense. Looking up to heaven means nothing, because up is just more space. Angels stop being angels and start sounding like aliens from another planet. The whole picture quietly changes without anyone arguing about it. Which brings you to NASA and the moon landing, because this theory needs those to be fake, not mistaken, deliberately staged. Every space agency on Earth working as one long operation to sell people the idea of an endless, empty universe, purely so God has nowhere left to be. There's even a piece of wordplay they love. That there's a Hebrew word close to the sound of NASA that means to deceive. It's a coincidence, since NASA is just an English abbreviation, but you can see why it caught on. Now here's the part that made me sit up. In Genesis, God makes a solid dome over the world to hold back the water above it. So in this theory, that dome is really up there, and every rocket ever launched just hits it and comes back down. That's why some people lost their minds over a SpaceX launch that lit up the sky. To them, it looked like something splashing against water. And the reason it all continues? Keep people believing they're alone in an empty universe, and they stay away from God. You don't have to believe any of it, but you have to admit, it's a complete world.
This is just a theory, not a fact.
It's true. It is just a theory.
Listen to me. I am compelled to tell this story, for my story is 100% true, and I need you to listen.
Okay.
2018, I went to prison. While I was in prison, my ex was still on the street. In Seattle, the police will sweep the homeless off the street periodically throughout the year. They'll go to the density
I kind of feel like I've heard this one before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we'll continue just because. Let's see. How long is it actually?
Have you ever...
Do you guys want to hear the craziest?
Here's what all conspiracy theories have in common. Did you ever ask yourself this?
They're all started by a...
No. Here's what they have in common. Every single one of them. I've yet to find an exception to this. There are people who are sure something is true, that they want to be true, okay? And they find evidence in support of what they want to be true. Yes. When there's an absence of evidence that should be there and isn't, or if there's evidence that points against it, they have to invoke a conspiracy to keep believing what they want and say the missing evidence was taken by the government, or this conflicting evidence was put in by the government to throw you off, so that they can continue to believe what they want. Rather than have the gaps in the data unravel what it is they think is true.
Here are 5 more conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. Number 5, the CIA is secretly reading the private messages of over 100 governments and effectively has backdoor access into anything encryption or password protected. So back in 1970, the CIA and West German intelligence quietly bought a little Swiss company called Crypto AG. This company sold encryption machines that governments all over the world would buy to use to scramble their internal messages so that no one could ever know what they're talking about, except the US military, because the CIA secretly owned the company. They rigged every single one of these encryption machines, and 120 of the world's governments would buy these machines for a lot of money because in the zeitgeist of the Cold War, it really seemed like the only way to communicate without being spied on at all. They tuned into Iran during the hostage crisis, they fed the UK all of Argentina's war plans during the Falklands, and they caught Libya celebrating a bombing in Berlin. This went on for 50 years, and we only found out because someone leaked it. Number 4, the US Navy sprayed live bacteria all over the city of San Francisco. Yeah, they just did that. So a Navy ship sat a couple miles offshore and spent about a week spraying huge clouds of bacteria into the fog. They were doing it because they ostensibly wanted to find out how a biological attack would spread through a major American city. And they did not tell a single resident they were doing it. Over 800,000 people inhaled this patriotic smog, and a few days later, 11 people showed up at a local hospital with a rare infection almost no one had ever seen before. In fact, one of them, a man named Edward Nevin, died, and his family had to grieve all over again when decades later they found out and sued, because the truth just came out in a Senate hearing in 1977. This excursion was called Operation Sea Spray, and the US Navy also admitted that it wasn't a one-off because they'd done it 239 other times, including releasing bacteria into the New York subway. Number 3, the cult dressed like a church of Scientology, planting thousands of its own members inside the US government. And so in the 1970s, the Church of Scientology decided it was going to get rid of every embarrassing government file about them and their weird founder. They got their people hired into real jobs across 136 different government agencies, including the IRS, the Justice Department, and the FBI, the big dogs. And of course, they even asked those members to just steal and shred documents from the inside, which was probably regular practice in all of those buildings. At its peak, they had up to 5,000 secret agents planted across the government, and it's in every definition of the word the biggest infiltration of the US government in history. And they were firmly in there until 1977, which it then did fall apart because that's when the FBI raided and found all the stolen documents. Number 2, the US government deliberately lacing all the alcohol with poison so that they could kill their own people. Dick move. So during Prohibition, the US government had a problem. People were just still drinking anyway. Most of the alcohol being drunk was industrial alcohol, the sort of stuff that bootleggers would steal and clean up and fix up in the toilet, nasty stuff that kind of tastes like poison. Their solution was to make the industrial alcohol as lethal as they possibly could. They ordered it laced with methanol, benzene, even mercury. It didn't matter to them because they knew people were still going to drink it. By 1926, the bodies were starting to stack up. In New York only, they had already logged 741 poison and alcohol deaths. And you'd think they'd back off at that point. Ooh, we're doing a bad thing. They doubled down. And I mean literally, they doubled the amount of poison. And so just over a Christmas holiday in New York, dozens of people were dropping dead. New York's own chief medical examiner called it a national experiment in extermination. By the time Prohibition ended, that poison had killed an estimated 10,000 American citizens. And the government's official stance was quite literally, well, if they're drinking, then they're just committing suicide anyway. I'm not joking. Number one, the US government is secretly stealing the bodies of dead babies. So quickly, before I talk about it, if you like weird, up, sad, scary shit like this, then you're great, and I would like you to follow me, please, because it makes me happy. Thanks. So in the 1950s, America was setting off a whole bunch of nuclear bombs, just whenever, but they were secretly very panicked about nuclear fallout. And they were especially worried about a radioactive material called strontium-90. The problem with strontium-90 is, on top of being very radioactive and deadly, the human body naturally pulls it into the bones as if it was calcium. And the types of bones that absorbed it fastest happened to belong to babies. So to measure how bad it was getting, the Atomic Energy Commission started collecting dead bodies of babies to test the bones. And they managed to collect over 1,500 dead babies from around the world. Did they at least inform the grieving parents? No way! Everyone admitted fallout was dangerous eventually. The actual conspiracy that seems really unnecessary is that in order to prove that radioactivity was dangerous, the government went out of their way to quietly harvest dead children. That's where it crossed the line. They did try to stop a nuclear bomb with the dead baby. But what do you think?
So y'all gonna really sit up there and act like y'all don't see that?
You were gonna do that?
I mean, this picture has people in a frenzy on the internet. I seen it right away. As soon as I looked at the picture, I seen it. What? I'm willing to bet $1,000 cash app that don't nobody get it. I had 2 people get it right. 2 people, I give you that. 2 people. That's because you see with the third. Look at the picture.
Yeah.
Y'all don't see that? Drop it down in the comments. If you get it right, I'll let you know if you get it right. But if you don't, try again. I mean, it's right there, man. How can y'all not see it? It's right in front of y'all face, bro. I know I can't be the only one to see this. And I'm not going to tell nobody what it is because I want to know if y'all see it for real. I asked my wife, she didn't get it. My homeboy didn't get it. It was a kid that seen it. I seen it right away. Here go the picture. Drop it down in the comments if you see it too. Let's go.
Ever hear the conspiracy theory that the Grand Canyon is hiding one of the biggest secrets in American history?
The original Egypt.
Well, if not, don't worry, because I'm going to tell you. All right, guys, so before we get started, I want to be very clear about one thing. This is a conspiracy theory, not an established historical fact. There's no credible evidence that the claims you are about to hear are true, and archaeologists and historians overwhelmingly reject them. But the story has fascinated people for over 100 years, so I'm going to tell you. All right, guys, so it all starts back in 1909 when a newspaper called the Arizona Gazette published an explosive article that grabbed people's attention across the country, okay? So according to the article, an explorer named G.E. Kincaid had been traveling down the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon when he supposedly, allegedly, spotted something unbelievable. The article claimed that Kincaid discovered a massive cave hidden high in the canyon walls, but this wasn't just any cave. Inside, he allegedly found what looked like an ancient underground city. So according to the story, the cave contained hundreds of rooms carved into the rock, passageways like stretching deep underground, strange symbols carved into the walls, copper weapons, pottery, statues, and like what appeared to even be mummies wrapped in cloth. But here's the part that made the story like explode. The article claimed that many of the artifacts looked strikingly Egyptian, and it described statues that supposedly resembled ancient Egyptian gods, including figures similar to Buddha and like some other famous people I can't remember, but anyways, you get it. Some conspiracy theorists like took this to mean like that ancient Egyptians somehow reached North America thousands of years before Christopher Columbus, but that's like, or Leif Garrison, that's a whole nother argument, okay? But anyways, so the newspaper, it even claimed that the discovery had attracted the attention of the Smithsonian, and the scientists were already studying the site in like complete secrecy. Then, according to the story, the cave was like supposedly sealed off, hidden from the public, and anyone trying to find it was kept away. And that's where the conspiracy really begins. So believers claim that the government and the Smithsonian have spent more than a century covering up the discovery because it would rewrite everything that we already know about ancient civilizations and who first came to the Americans. Well, we already know like the Indians were already here, but whatever. Anyways, so some versions of the conspiracy, they go even further. They claim that the cave holds priceless treasures, giant mummies, proof of a lost civilization, evidence of Atlantis, or even technology too advanced for ancient people. So over the years, the story has grown like more dramatic with like every retelling, right? So is any of this true? And there are some real facts mixed in with a lot of speculation. The Arizona Gazette really did publish the article in 1909. True. The Grand Canyon really does contain thousands of caves. And many have never been fully explored because they're like pretty freaking dangerous or impossible to reach. And the National Park Service also restricts access to many areas to protect the wildlife and like the fragile like archaeological sites, and like they want to make it like visitor friendly, you know. So anyways, but that's where the confirmed evidence ends. No one has ever found the underground city described in the newspaper. No photographs, maps, artifacts, or scientific records have ever surfaced to support the story. Historians have never confirmed that G.E. Kincaid even existed as described in the article. And the Smithsonian says it has no record of sponsoring the expedition or recovering Egyptian artifacts from the Grand Canyon. Maybe they signed NDAs, you know, who knows? But anyways, archaeologists, you guys, they have studied the Grand Canyon for decades, and they've discovered like many genuine Native American archaeological sites left behind by like ancestor people from back in the day, and then other indigenous cultures. But those discoveries are real and they're incredibly important, but none of them resemble like a lost Egyptian city described in this conspiracy theory. Even today, though, the mystery refuses to die. Every year, people search satellite images, they hike remote trails, and they like trade their theories online, convinced the cave is still out there waiting to be rediscovered. Others believe it's hidden somewhere inside restricted areas of the park where tourists are never allowed to go. And whether the original newspaper story was an elaborate hoax, a misunderstanding, or simply sensational journalism designed, to sell newspapers, fake news and all, nobody knows for certain. But more than a century later, it remains one of America's most famous conspiracy theories. So the next time someone tells you there's a hidden Egyptian city buried inside the Grand Canyon, because they talk about it all the time, they just tell you in passing. Remember that it's a fascinating conspiracy theory, but there is no credible evidence that such a city has ever been found. Doesn't make it untrue, though. Let me know what you guys think. And also, do you think it's real? You think they're hiding it? What do you think? Let me know. But also, tell me your favorite conspiracy theory, because these have been fun to research. But that's it for this one, guys. As always, please follow me for more videos just like this one. Like this video, repost it, comment. All those things help push me to the FYP, which gets me more followers, which makes me want to.
This is all alleged and for educational and entertainment
your
purposes
favorite conspiracy
only. Did you know
partner?
this?
No, I don't know any of this, actually.
If you're new here and you like connecting the dots, follow, because we like connecting the dots. Allegedly. Why is this the one place on Earth that all of the countries came together in agreement that no one is allowed to explore?
Antarctica.
It all started with Admiral Byrd.
Yep.
Admiral Byrd was really high up in the military, had this expedition that was called, it's kind of a weird name. Okay, it's Operation High Jump.
Huh.
He had a whole crew, I think it was like 1,400 soldiers, to go explore Antarctica. And the Navy was watching him closely, and there were parameters of what he could and could not do. And he would go out with his whole crew flying above the wall.
Okay.
Yep.
One day, he goes further than what he was supposed to go, and they lose track of him for 3 hours. Did you know this?
No, I don't know any of this actually.
Lose track of him. He comes back and he's like pale as a ghost and is like trying to explain all of the things that he saw. Essentially, he saw a land beyond the wall. Once he went past the wall, it was like lush and green and essentially like a different civilization. Allegedly. And this is where it starts to get weird.
Right.
He comes back and he starts going on interviews and telling the things that he saw, like luscious land, rainbow cities, civilizations, unlike anything he's ever seen. He comes back allegedly and testifies in front of Congress and says, like, there are some things beyond this wall that are like scary, like a little scary, maybe a lot scary, maybe Game of Thrones scary. Think about it. I mean, who are we to like limit God and his creation of, do you know what I mean? Okay, he comes back, he testifies. 10 years after that, he's, okay?
Yeah.
And
hitchhiking with birds?
he's on the outs, okay? 10 years later, I believe that was 1946.
Okay.
Okay,
Right
just to kind of give you an idea of timing.
Right.
Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. So allegedly, 1958 is when NASA was created. A year after that is when the Antarctic Treaty is formed, when all of these countries came together in agreement. We can't come together about some other things, but we can come to the agreement for Antarctica.
Yeah.
Essentially protecting Antarctica, where we were taught it's a continent and that it's just a place. What some other people say, that it's essentially a wall around all of the countries.
This video that I'm about to show you guys really did open my eyes up and kind of had my jaw drop. Let me know your personal thoughts in the comments, but I'm just still trying to get over this.
Who is the Antichrist? I've got this question a lot in my DMs so many times, so I figured I would address who I believe it is. A lot of people message me saying they know for sure it's Trump. A lot of people message me and say that they know for sure it's Obama. Understand something. The Antichrist is not going to be a hated person at first. Revelation 13 talks about how the Antichrist will be loved and worshiped and followed all across the world. Everyone's going to love this man at first. Before I get into it, I want you to understand everything that God does, Satan mimics in his own little ways. Just as God sent Jesus to die on the cross for all of our sins, Satan will also send his son, the Antichrist. So no, I do not think that it will be Trump because a lot of people hate that man. I don't think that it will be Obama because a lot of people hate that man. I do, however, believe the Antichrist will be this man right here, Mr. Beast. Also, the Bible refers to the Antichrist as the Beast. He is literally the biggest social media influencer of all time. The whole entire world pretty much knows who this man is. Out of all this man's main YouTube channels, he has over 450 million subscribers. It doesn't even include all of these other subscribers I'm fixing to show you. He has channels for people in Mexico that speak Spanish. He has channels for all of these different countries. Here's his channel for people in Brazil. Keep in mind, I did not add any of these subscribers up. Remember, the whole world will love this man at first. Here's him in Africa building over 100 wells for these people. Very nice and generous of him, right? Here's him giving over 100 houses away. Very, very generous of this man, right? Keep in mind the whole world is loving and praising this man for all the great, generous things he's doing. Let's dig deeper because it's about to get very interesting. Isn't it funny that he said he would run for president and everybody is behind him, backing him, saying, hey man, we would support you. You're so great. We love you. Let's take a look at Revelation 13:2. It says, and the beast I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were like a bear's, and his mouth was like a lion's mouth. And to it the dragon gave his power and his throne and great authority. Satan gives him his power. Remember, the head of a leopard and the mouth of a lion. The name Mr. Beast alone should be a major red flag. The Bible describes the Antichrist as the beast. Keep in mind, this dude could have picked any name, anything, but he calls himself Mr. Beast. Now here's a part that's really about to make you scratch your head. Remember when I said in the very beginning that God sent his son Jesus to die on the cross for our sins? We are his children. Those that believe in me will not perish. All you have to do is believe in him if you want eternal life. Just listen. Well, Satan will send his son, the Antichrist. And the Antichrist, the Bible says, will force all great, free, small, rich, powerful. It doesn't matter who you are. You will all be forced to receive a mark on your right hand or your forehead. And those that do not get it will be persecuted. When you accept this mark, you become part of Satan's. There is no going back. Your eternity is sealed. And if you don't get this mark, you get persecuted. When you take this mark, you literally become a child of...
You know what? It's just like the vaccination. Did you see how many people were ostracized and ridiculed, etc., because they refused to take the vaccination? For me, it was not enough time for the scientific method to take hold for it to be okay to put into my body. Yeah. But still today, I don't have a best friend because of Trump.
Satan's. Now, this is Mr. Beast's girlfriend, Thea. And Thea wrote a book. Out of all the titles this woman could have chose, just wait, it's going to blow your mind. She writes a book called The Marked Children, where children are born with magical marks on their bodies. If that doesn't make you sit and scratch your head, I honestly don't know what to tell you. Oh man, look how nice he is. Over 1,000 blind people can see again. Sounds pretty biblical to me, huh? The Bible says that the Antichrist will be wounded by the sword, but yet he lives. In other words, he will suffer a fatal wound and come back to life. When he comes back to life, that is when Satan will enter him. For everyone saying, oh no, Mr. Beast is just too nice, he would never do anything like this, Satan himself was once an angel. I'm not saying 100% that he is the Antichrist, but he's a very great candidate to be one.
A little girl's innocent science experiment would turn into one of the most unexplained phenomenons known to modern age. So back in 2001, there was a 10-year-old little girl named Laura Buxton. And she had a balloon, and she put a note on the balloon and inside the balloon, and then actually dangled one off the balloon. She let this balloon go and wanted to see where this balloon would end up. And the note was essentially saying ways to contact her parents' email address and to get in touch with them because they wanted to see where these balloons would end up. This balloon traveled 140 miles. Now, the likelihood of a balloon traveling and just landing in a field or somebody seeing it and just throwing it away is very high. Majority of the time, no one would have even seen this balloon at all. So I want you to understand how hard and rare it is that somebody even found this balloon. By the way, don't do this. Don't release balloons. This is really bad.
Yeah.
140 miles away, this balloon lands. It lands in this elderly couple's yard. They go out, they pick up the balloon, they see the note on it. And they go, oh, return to Laura Buxton, So then they go, this didn't make it far. They go to their neighbor's house, knock on their door, to a little girl named Laura Buxton. And they said, hey, we found your balloon. We're trying to return it. Laura Buxton was very confused. She said, I've not done any of this. This is not my email address. I don't know anything about this. They contacted the email address that was on there because it freaked them out. They're like, why is somebody sending a balloon with our daughter's name on it, but somebody else's information? It was a different Laura Buxton. So a 10-year-old little girl, Laura Buxton, released the balloon. It landed in another 10-year-old little girl's neighbor's house, whose name was also Laura Buxton.
What?
The parents thought this was the craziest thing ever, and since it was only about 140 miles, it was about a 2-hour drive, they met up, and the two little girls looked like they could have been not just sisters, but twin sisters. They looked identical.
Oh my God.
They both had a dog that was a black lab. They both also had a pet rabbit. Their interests were the same, their style of dressing was the same, their physical features were the same. It is a weird glitch in the Matrix that happened. And it would be easy to write off if this was the only time this ever happened. But there's been so many glitches in the Matrix where people have found wallets belonging to somebody with the same name as them. If you want to see the Missing Twins documentary that I did, I did a whole hour-long thing about twins separated at birth that go on to live identical lives. They're separated at birth, but yet they marry a woman with the same name. They name their kids the same name. They get a pet dog and name it the same name. There are so many weird, freaky phenomenons like this that have happened that you just have to wonder, are we in a simulation? And sometimes it just kind of glitches out.
Really?
If you want to see those
Matrix?
stories that I was referring to, you can go to our podcast on Apple or Spotify. It's called Matt from Nomads. It's also on YouTube under Nomads Animal Reserve, even though it's not as up to date as Spotify and Apple. And we would love to see you over there. As we speak, there might be something that is not human floating in our atmosphere in the orbit of Earth that could be monitoring us, watching us, and listening to everything that we do. This is called the Black Knot Satellite, and when I tell people I want to make small talk, it's these kind of things I want to talk about. So settle in, take your edible, and let's get right down to it. So first off, the Black Knot Satellite is not just a myth or a conspiracy. We can actually see it in our orbit, and there's tons of photos of it.
It's crazy.
Now, what the photos are picturing is what is up for debate. Some people, the most people that want to, theorize about this, say that it is a satellite.
Like, it's a space blanket that we lost that one time.
Scientists and NASA experts are going to say that it's space debris. It's some kind of thermal blanket. It's whatever. Other experts have looked at what's supposed to be a thermal blanket and said that if it is a thermal blanket, it is literally 100-foot long. It is a massive structure.
Yeah, it's huge. What is it? Oh my gosh.
A lot of times I like to joke in these videos, but y'all heard that, right? We're going to move slightly down the trail before we continue this story. So, Nikola Tesla actually first observed this weird phenomenon of some kind of satellite radio wave or something right above us, this mosquito. So help me, Lord. Please let me make it through this video.
You got this.
Nikola Tesla observed in 1899, when he was first experimenting with different radio waves, that there seemed to be an intelligent radio signal being sent back to him when he would send up radio waves into the atmosphere. Yes. Now, he was just actually starting this off as a radio test on different, radio waves and different, things like that, how it could be used. He was not expecting to get any kind of response back, but he did. Now, scientists will actually tell you that this is something called natural space radio waves. You can look that up if you want. And technically, it's a real thing. Scientists would like us to believe that radio waves just come from space naturally.
Yeah, there was just smoke earlier, a couple hours ago.
You don't find that suspicious? That we can just... We created a very unique machine that reads radio waves, and those things just already existed? Like... If I'm not mistaken, I thought we made radio waves, but apparently things in space give off radio waves. But here's the thing. They can't say for certain what gives off the radio waves. They say that there's like pulsars. They say it could be black holes. They say it could be dying stars, like way off in the distance. Damn! But the truth is, we just don't know. I hate summertime. Bring me back fall and winter where all these bugs will die. Fast forward to 1928. A Norwegian radio operator is also getting what's called echo radio signals back. So whatever radio signals he was sending out were getting bounced back to him in pretty much the same way. It'd be kind of like if you go hello and you hear the echo of hello back. He was hearing his radio signals back, but it had never happened before. So why did it start happening now? He started playing around with this, and he found out that it doesn't always happen. He can do it under the same atmospheric conditions, but it doesn't always happen. And we didn't know about satellites at the time, but it would make sense now if it was only working when the Black Knot satellite was actually over his exact spot and it was bouncing the radio wave back down to him. Now, the Black Knot satellite doesn't get mentioned for the first time until quite a bit later, because we did not know what the term satellite had not truly been coined in the way we know it today, because it hadn't happened yet. Now, here is where it takes a turn into the supernatural and the paranormal when it comes to UFOs. 1954, a military operative actually reports that there are 2 satellites orbiting Earth. Now that's important because you heard the date, 1954. The first satellite was not successfully launched until 1957 that we know of, and that was the Sputnik 1, the Russian satellite. So 3 years prior to there being any satellites of our own, and when I say of our own, I mean humankind, in the atmosphere, we can detect 2 of them on a radar system. Why? Now, years later, this military file was actually redacted. And they made this big conspiracy up about that guy was somebody that was trying to sell books about UFOs, because UFOs were kind of a craze at this time, because this was not too long after the whole Roswell situation. So that's their way to explain it away again. There's always like some kind of like coin, like explanation. I ain't gonna have no blood left by the time this video's over. There's always like some kind of phrase they come out with or some kind of explanation that's just so weird and one-off and niche every time there's one of these instances involved, right? It is so frustrating to deal with the government and their files, and things will get sealed for 50 and 60 years. And we see the prime example right here. Somebody from within their system in the military reported this. It gets dismissed only years later after it caught fire. It wasn't dismissed at first. It was only dismissed years later because we didn't even know if a satellite was truly possible yet, because we didn't prove the theory until 3 years later. But that's what they're describing. Hey, there's something in the atmosphere. It's orbiting. It comes back around every so many, weeks, days, whatever, however, months, however long it takes for it to orbit. And then we just dismiss it. Some UFO researchers always say that our technology actually comes from aliens. And a lot of people theorize that this technology, satellite technology, also comes from aliens because, like I said, 1954, we see 2 satellites orbiting our Earth, and then 3 years later, we come out with satellites of our own. It's almost like we saw the technology. Maybe we somehow harvested one, shot one down. I don't know how that would have even been possible, but I'm just saying, look at the weirdness with Roswell, and then immediately after the famous Roswell crash, we came out with advanced aircraft that were light years ahead of the aircrafts that we already had. And a lot of people say that we reverse engineered the spaceship that crashed. Somehow this satellite, did it accidentally crash? Did it come to Earth and we reverse engineered it and we, came up with the satellite theory? Because it's strange that just 3 years apart, we saw something that we didn't know how to explain, and then all of a sudden, boom, we have them of our own. Now, some people have theories about this that is not alien, that it's actually humankind. So we've done videos before about how I think that our civilization has possibly reset multiple times. Like I think we have been this far advanced multiple times. And there was a great flood like we hear about in the Bible. There was a mud flood like we hear about in Tartaria. There was a meteorite like we've heard about with dinosaurs. There was some kind of gigantic volcano eruption. Something happened that blasted us back into the Stone Age, maybe for thousands of years. And we're just now getting back to a point that we're advanced. And we might be advanced in different ways than we were previously. Like before, we might have figured out how to do geothermal energy for everything because our atmospheres would be different in each one of these resets. So, solar energy might be a thing that they couldn't harvest back then because the atmosphere was actually too thick. There's all kinds of, and if you guys want to go down that rabbit hole with UV rays and how our atmosphere is different, that might be why we hear about in the Bible people living 700 years, is because back then we know that UV rays do kill us all at some point eventually. That's like the true reason why we die is UV light rays. It's not a topic for today. All right. Where was I even at? So they think that this might have actually been a relic from a previous civilization that had gotten as advanced as we are now, and that we are just recovering technology. If you guys want to go down another crazy rabbit hole, it's that we did not create the internet, but we rediscovered the internet. And the reason why computing power is increasing so fast day by day by day is we're just now really figuring out how to use it. And AI and all this other stuff is nothing that we created. That is stuff that we're discovering, and we had to figure out how to make computers that could access it the way we do today. There's a reason why the military had the internet way before we did. Now, there are some darker thoughts about what the Black Knight satellite is. Some people say it is the watcher in the sky. It's the dark watcher, if you will. And they're essentially just waiting for humans. It's some faraway civilization is just waiting for humans to be smart enough or intelligent enough to either bring us into their space coalition or to destroy us. If we go down the violent road, which it seems like we're on right now, they might blast us back into the Stone Age again, let us reset, see if we figure it out better the next time. Or if we take a path of enlightenment and peace, which is probably never going to happen with this timeline we're on now, that they'll actually accept us in and they'll teach us more technologies and they'll bring us into some kind of like galactic trade system, almost like, if you will, with Star Wars and Star Trek and all this other crazy stuff. We might be just a uncivilized, primitive planet. Just like how when we put up cameras in the woods, like game cameras and, hidden cameras to watch animals and to observe animals, this might be their way of just observing us. Right. That's one of the other theories. The last theory is that it is a alien probe of some kind, and it's pretty much their way to communicate with the aliens that are already here, living amongst us on our planet, or that are hidden amongst us. There's different theories on that as well, whether they look like us and act like us because maybe they are us, or that they're hidden amongst secret bases and stuff, and that's why sometimes you see UFOs, but that's like pretty much like a telephone system for them to reach the ones that are already here. There's a ton of theories on it. Would love to hear what you guys think about this. I mean, this is a wild theory, I know. The Black Knight satellite is a wild rabbit hole to go down to. And when I say Black Knight, if you want to look it up on your own, it's spelled with a K, like a medieval knight, not like it's nighttime outside.
How can you not know about this book?
If you guys love this stuff, you'll love our other stories that we do. It's called Matt from Nomads on Spotify and Apple Podcast. And on YouTube, it is called Nomads Animal Reserve.
When you approached me, it was quite surprising that you had the kind of disclosures that you had and some of the background that you have. I do want to say that we're in a public place here, but we are forced to be in this kind of a public place for a number of reasons that I can't explain on camera, but take it from me, there's a purpose for this.
And that's because the information in this interview needs extra caution. Minutes later, something strange happened.
I just want to make sure that we cover this sort of preliminary until we go to the low level of what went on. And we are still having helicopters in the vicinity in the background. What do you think?
This is not going away.
Once you hear what he's about to say, the timing of those helicopters won't feel random anymore.
We have had to move from our location where we were to a more private situation in order to take this testimony because we have been overflown by repeated number of helicopters that simply did not want to go away.
They were there long before the interview. One of the caveats that I do have some personal information that I did get personally involved in was some information that had to do with the Stargates and Looking Glass, and more specifically the 2012 problem with those projects. Well, I guess popular opinion of what's out there right now is that the project was shut down because there was a problem when we approached 2012.
This is a 2012 Project Camelot interview with Carrie Cassidy and Bill Wood, a former Navy member who said he had access to information far outside the public eye. At that time, people were already talking about 2012. But Bill claimed the real concern wasn't a prophecy or a calendar date. It was a classified program the public almost never heard about. It was called Project Looking Glass, a secret program built around a controlled setup where they tested how different decisions could change what comes next. It wasn't one machine, but an entire process. They would adjust certain conditions, introduce a possible choice, and then watch how the timeline shifted. The goal wasn't to predict the future like a fortune teller. The goal was to see how the future reacts when the present changes, almost like watching reality update itself based on every decision made.
The timelines converge on that point in time. And when you know enough about the Stargate projects and the Looking Glass project to know how string theory works and how the possibility of possibilities works and how making one choice over here doesn't necessarily mean the other choice couldn't exist at the same time. But once you get your brain wrapped around this subject, you find out that at the end of 2012, in an easy way to put it, the choices that we make become less and less consequential to the future. And eventually we're pushed into this bottleneck of time, no matter which choice we make.
What Bill is describing here is the main flaw behind the technology they were using. The idea was this: they would feed different choices into the system. Things like, what happens if we choose X? Or what happens if we choose Y? And the machine would show the most likely future for each choice. At first, it looked extremely convincing. If one option showed a 79% chance of happening and the other showed 21%, they assumed the 79% outcome was basically guaranteed. In other words, they believed the machine could calculate the future like a probability chart, the same way weather forecasts or simulations work. But what they didn't realize was that these probabilities could change very fast once real people, free will, and real-world actions started influencing the situation. Something that looked almost certain at one moment could shift completely a short time later. Bill's point is simple. They were treating the numbers as fixed, when in reality, the future was still flexible. So the big mistake wasn't the data, it was believing that the data could not change. This created a false sense of certainty, and that's why everything started to fall apart later.
What happened was people, very smart people, began to figure out that something big was coming up. Something that made it so all the possibilities of all the future scenarios of any choice, any possibility that was fed in and observed through the Looking Glass inherently ended up in the same future. And no decision and no possibility changed past a certain point. That's the big secret.
Okay, so is that certain 2012 in your understanding?
It well coincides with December 21st, 2012.
Bill says that as they kept testing the machine, something strange started happening. No matter what scenario they entered, all timelines were ending in the same future. Normally, when you test different choices, you expect different results, different paths, different outcomes. But at a certain point, around the end of 2012, every path, every possibility, every simulation started showing the same ending. That's what he means when he says all possible timelines lead to the same basic set of history. To the people running the project, this was terrifying. Why?
Yes.
Because it meant they had lost control. It didn't matter what they did, what decisions they made, or what plans they tried to execute. The machine kept showing the same final outcome. So, the big secret wasn't that the future could be predicted. The big secret was that the future seemed locked, and nothing they did could change the direction things were heading. This is the moment where the people in charge started to panic, not because they knew what was coming, but because they couldn't stop it.
The people that know everything about Looking Glass, that have gotten all the reports and all the information, the elites of the world, probably figured out that that was the end of the game. Nothing could be manipulated beyond that point.
The people who had full access to the Looking Glass data eventually realized something unsettling. The machine kept giving them the same answer, over and over again, an outcome they did not want. For years, they believed the future could be shaped, influenced, or redirected. But once the timelines started converging, the technology stopped giving them the results they were hoping for. Every test ended the same way. Every scenario collapsed into the same final point. Bill says that this was the moment when those in control understood they had reached the end of the game, a point beyond which their influence no longer mattered. And here's the part that raises the real question. If they didn't like the answer, did they try finding a way to change the entire phenomenon? If a tool that once worked was suddenly useless, it's only natural to imagine that they would search for another method, another technology, capable of pushing reality in a different direction, or at least delaying the outcome they feared. If they were looking for a way to override or bypass the convergence of timelines, there is one project people often point to because of its timing, scale, and ambition. A project designed to manipulate the smallest building blocks of reality itself. And that brings us to CERN.
What about the notion that CERN, for example, is engaged in trying to beat that game, as you call it?
I would say, look at the problems CERN has had, the crazy little things that have kept that project from moving forward. Certainly, they have never even come close to getting that project to the level they want it to be to do what they really want to do with it.
Okay, well, what about the notion that that's the party line, that they haven't been able to do so? But if you really think about it, that's what they would prefer people to believe so that they don't think that there's a threat.
Listen to the interviews of the scientists that are working on the project. Even they say that it seems like somebody or something from the future won't let them get that project done.
This interview happened in 2012. At that time, CERN was already a massive scientific organization, founded in 1954, and had been...
Are you serious? Holy shnikes. Yeah, so they've stopped, but they're going to start again. Is it 2030? I can't remember when they say it. They're coming back.
Become the world's largest particle physics laboratory. But what most people don't realize is that the machine everyone talks about, the Large Hadron Collider, only became fully operational in 2008, just a few years before Bill's testimony. In simple terms, this machine does one thing. It accelerates tiny particles to almost the speed of light and smashes them together. When they collide, they break into even smaller pieces, allowing scientists to study the fundamental structure of reality, the particles and forces that existed right after the Big Bang. It's like a giant microscope, but instead of using lenses and light, it uses extreme collisions to reveal the building blocks of the universe.
That's insane.
This video is going to sound crazy to people who simply don't understand. I'd also like to say this is my opinion, okay? This is an opinion, do not take it as a fact. The one last thing I'd like you to remember is that the closer you are, the crazier you sound, okay? In my opinion, the world is a simulation, but not in a way that you think. It's not like The Truman Show, okay? It's a lot worse. And I do have one thing that's actually happened to me that has made me believe this 10 times more. Okay, so if I was to sit here and tell you something right now that is the truth, you wouldn't believe me, okay, because of how crazy it sounds, but you would believe the government if they were to tell you that, or a news website, or a news show, anything like that. You would believe it if it came from something like that. And that's where it all starts. There was many celebrities that were trying to tell us about what was happening with the files. We didn't believe them until the government allowed us to see the truth. The government know our every move, and they watch our every move, and I do believe that there is people that are in our phones, and this is why I was on live at one point with many people watching my live, and out of nowhere my screen cut out to a man who was being lit up by his phone light, by his phone screen. There was no other light, he was being lit up by his phone screen, and he was on my live for a second and disappeared. Then it switched back to me. How did that happen? Before I could even ask if anyone saw that, my chat was lighting up with what the fuck just happened, girl, what is going on?
Seriously?
I asked to clarify, did you see that? They were like, yes, what the fuck? And now when I go back to look for that footage of my live stream, the whole live stream is gone. It wasn't recorded. The higher-ups in the world have shaped us to believe only what comes out of their mouth, or a reliable source such as the news, newspapers, verified accounts, and the government themselves. If I was to tell you something right now that I'd seen with my own eyes that sounded absolutely insane, you wouldn't believe me. But if the government were to tell you that that was the truth, you would believe them. Why is that? If the news was to drop it, you believe them. Why do we believe them, who are also humans, but we don't believe someone else who saw it with their own eyes? We have been shaped and molded that way to only believe it when it comes from someone else, from someone higher up, because they're more reliable for some reason. That's why I believe it's a simulation, because if you're not up there with other people, you're not well known by those people, you don't have money, you don't have connections, you don't have power, you will never know the truth until they decide to give it to you, which makes them in control of what happens to us. They're in control of what we know, which should never be right. Now, I do believe that The Truman Show has some reality to it, but it's not the way you think. If you actually watch that with the thought of, he only knows what he's been allowed to know. He's only lived the life that he's been given by these people who are controlling the world, which is exactly what's happening to us, but it's just not as in your face as it was in The Truman Show, so you're not going to believe it. When people hear the world is a simulation, they think, like, nothing's real. Nothing's real, it's all a game. It's not like that. Long story short, we only know what the government allow us to know, which is what makes the world a simulation, because at the end of the day, we should be able to know everything. We are just as much human as them, but because they have the power, the money, the connections, the resources, we do not believe anything unless it comes from them. And if they don't tell us, we will never know. We will never fucking know. I know this can be very hard to understand because I'm not good with my words, but if you want me to do a more in-depth version of this, or you want to tell me your conspiracy theories or anything like that, go to the comments, because I love conspiracy theories. Anyways, I love you, thanks for watching, bye!
Your eyes aren't deceiving you. This is a real picture from the 1940s. And yes, that woman is holding a cell phone to her ear. But it gets even crazier, because this woman was filmed in a Charlie Chaplin movie back in the 1920s, holding a cell phone to her face. But one of the weirdest cases of time travel is this man right here, who was seen having a modern day iPhone at a Mike Tyson boxing event all the way back in the 90s. You don't think it's possible that the government has time travel capabilities, and that these are agents the government sent back in time? This man does not belong in the 1940s. It's likely he's a government asset, sent back in time to observe society in the old times. But as always, thank you for watching. Stay weird.
An incredibly tragic story this morning. Actress Hayden Panettiere was found dead, and we're getting new details on exactly what happened. But where this story becomes a bit bigger, despite the fact I think this is already a very big story and it's very tragic. Hayden was only 36 years old. She had recently appeared in a podcast and had said that someone she knew and trusted, presumably in this industry, had brought her onto a boat, led her down to an older man in bed that she was supposed to, let's just say, satisfy by force. This was in May. This story came out. Only a few months later, she's found dead. Now, instantly, when the reporting came out that Hayden Panettiere was found dead, no one knew initially, this news is breaking very quickly, exactly what had happened. But now we have reporting from TMZ,
Her
as well as
boyfriend
many
picked
other
her up from
outlets,
the airport. Look at that guy.
that's a 911 call about a possible overdose, and we have that dispatch call. Now, here's the thing. Many people are questioning, why would Hayden Panettiere be doing hard drugs? I mean, she's successful, she's young, she's you know, a Nashville star. Why? She doesn't seem to fit the profile. Now, there is the reality that sometimes you'd be surprised. But she's a young mother. She's got a child. It seems strange that she would be doing these drugs, and that's where the conspiracy theories erupt. An overdose. Many are arguing, well, that's how you get rid of a problem who's saying too much. Because how do you prove murder? If somebody wants to remove someone from this mortal coil.
Do you remember learning that Germany blew up the Statue of Liberty? Yeah, me neither.
No.
Yeah, so in 1916, one of the defining reasons why the United States entered World War
We were just talking about this.
I is actually because Germany attacked the Statue of Liberty, and 7 people died, hundreds were injured, and it caused hundreds of millions of dollars of damage.
What?
Do you remember learning that?
No.
To this day, we still commemorate Oklahoma City, Pearl Harbor, 9/11. We remember every attack that's ever happened on U.S. soil. But somehow, this attack on the Statue of Liberty that brought us into World War I just wasn't taught in school. And I would say 99% of the public has never heard of it. Is an example of the U.S. education system being trash, or is this another Mandela effect, where we've just entered a timeline where things have happened that nobody remembers?
Nope.
And those renovations that...
And things going back, like the FRUIT is now FROOT again, the way it was originally. Everything's going back, and other things have changed, of course, because the waves are never the same.
Took place on the torch? That wasn't just because. I remember the renovations that happened in like the 70s and 80s. You thought it was just because? No, those renovations were because of this attack. Like, how crazy is that? How is that not something people discussed?
What the heck?
Like, oh, hey, Mom, why are they trying to fix the Statue of Liberty? Oh, we got attacked. How is that not a conversation? It was just a random thing that we did just to fix the Statue of Liberty. I just don't understand how this wasn't a bigger bullet point in American history. I don't understand that. I don't get it.
America is about to celebrate its 250th birthday. But what is America? Why are we the greatest country in the world? Well, the answer is we're not.
There's a new conspiracy about the Spokane fires. So this video is actually posted by the hacktivist collective Anonymous. And this is what they said, and I'm interested to see what you guys think.
Look at the fires in Washington state and then ask yourself, how would the system completely override the people, strip away private land tenure, and then build a digital cage, without starting an open war with the citizens? You wouldn't force it on them all at once, but you would let a disaster clear the board for you instead. Now with that in mind, look back again at what just went down at the Old Trails fire, as thousands of acres are scorched, over 60,000 civilians are displaced, and hundreds of homes are leveled. And then right on cue, the authorities hand us a wrapped-up narrative. An arson suspect, named Aaron Farinacci, a man with a heavy criminal past, is arrested on the spot with a lighter and matches. So it's just case closed, right?
Right.
A lone bad actor, a convenient fall guy, but whether the suspect was a groomed pawn or an unwitting spark, just ask yourself who actually benefits from the ashes.
I feel like I don't want to believe any of that. And I'm not exactly sure what they're trying to say. Like, what grid are they trying to make room for?
Yeah.
Data center?
Look how we said. Was he cloned? What the hell is happening? Hello? the heck? Wow. And reset. Wow, what the heck just happened? Two conspiracy theories that won't let you. Number one, the ice wall. What the hell is going on? Shit is glitching out. Processing, thinking, moving. Data around. Here we go. Oh my gosh. Seriously. Look at that. That is insane. Exactly. Why? Well,
remember that time wave?
hello, Mr. Knightley.
Hello. I've come out the woodwork.
Yay.
And I only come out the
I've
woodwork
missed you.
for when I believe something is significant. Completely and utterly significant. Now,
Yes.
every time I hear the word David Grush, my ears pop up, and I'm like, right, let's cover this. And I think, again, objectively, as I said to you guys before, I'm not going to be on here nowhere near as aggressively as I was before, because a lot of this stuff is smoke and mirrors. And I personally believe, based on what I've been covering on this for some years now, is that there are some people that I just think are worth the time of day, and I think that David Grush is one of those people, and I think he's a credible individual. As the ICIG said, this is now credible and urgent, and this needs to be taken very seriously. When David Grush made his claims back in July 26th of 2023, or is it February? I can't remember. All the dates and stuff elude me now.
It's all
been doing this.
smashing together.
Yeah, this one's a significant one. So he spoke to Dr. Phil, so it's similar to my other video that I talked about. Last video I did was about Dr. Phil. But here we go. So David Grush and Dr. Phil McGraw interview that has just dropped contains some significantly stronger statements than Grush's original 2023 public testimony, as I've just said. He seems to be ripping off the Band-Aid here and really is becoming more confident with being specific about certain things. This is significant. This is substantial. The big talking points here are that Grush says living non-human pilots have been recovered.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the biggest headline in 2023. If he made that claim in 2023, it would have been the biggest headline. But I think this is the biggest headline of 2026. Grush carefully used the term non-human biologics. In the Dr. Phil conversation, he goes substantially further, indicating that some occupants associated with recovered craft were alive, and that there has been communication contact with them. Grush says he knows where recovered craft are located. Dr. Phil asks him essentially, if the president gave them the necessary authorization, could Grush physically take him somewhere where they could see one of these objects? Grush's answer was yes, like unequivocally yes. He says they could take a field trip out west and go to facilities containing the material. He believes some of the crafts are still at those locations. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they are, otherwise you wouldn't have that level of security there. I mean, Right Pat is an obvious one. I think Papoose Lake is another one as well. Was it Groom Lake is another one as well? Dr. Phil pushes the question further. Would there actually still be something there that they could physically see and touch? I don't see why not. I mean, where else is it going to go? What, they're going to send it to some overseas location? Of course they're not. They're going to put it in a deep underground military base called Dumb. Again, Grush says yes. His reasoning is particularly interesting. Some of these objects are apparently difficult to relocate because of their size. Now, we know about the object that was so big that they built a building over it. Allegedly, what I'm hearing is that is in South Korea somewhere. I don't know where I heard that, and that could be absolute nonsense, but I'm pretty sure I heard South Korea. Of where a government building has been built over the entire facility. The size comment is potentially a major clue. So Grush says moving certain things is a little bit laborious because of their size, and therefore he thinks some locations are probably still untouched. He then deliberately stops himself, saying he doesn't want to spook the herd. For a video, I'll be honest with you, for like this, I would say that is substantial. Mm-hmm. He's effectively suggesting there are physical assets sufficiently large or difficult to move that simply changing storage locations in response to scrutiny isn't trivial. So this moves beyond Grush's old I interviewed witnesses position. His original congressional case was largely based on his investigation and interviews with roughly 40 witnesses. Now, as you know, he spent 11 hours providing evidence to the ICIG, and that was spanned over 4 years of evidence gathering, of which he divulged 11 hours of that to the ICIG, and then he said it's credible and urgent. So a lot of the stuff that he knows, as you saw from the hearing back in 2023, that he said, look, I'm going to have to put you in a skip about that. I think that he's maybe requested more clearances so he can talk more freely about these things. Guys, this is not going away. It's not, which is why I'm not so prevalent on here as I was before, because this is just going to keep happening. The momentum is not going to slow down. There are too many people that know. There are too many good people out there trying to get the good news out, like across the board. I mean, look at what Jesse Michael's doing. Look at all of the interviews that he's doing now. It's insane what he's talking about. So let's have a look here. So the live NHI contact claim is the real escalation here. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this whole thing. Biologics recovered with craft was already extraordinary. But if the interview is taken literally, we're now talking about recovered craft, recovered occupants recovered alive, okay? Communication with those occupants, which is just, we know about the remote viewing. We know that there's some sort of universal form of communication, okay?
Yes.
And that has been said time and time again by people that have come forwards and said, look, that there is something going on here that we can quantify. We just don't know how it's working. Hal Putoff has been on the forefront of that. He's like, look, we've worked this out. There is a way of communicating outside of verbal diarrhea in this case. It's quite, when you think about it, it's quite rudimental that we're just talking this way. There's a more advanced way of communicating, I think, of which the universe has provided. So, look, I don't want to go down the road of spirituality here and all this stuff, but sometimes Copernicus crisis, that's all I'm going to say. Those of you that don't know, do your research on who Copernicus was and why he was ridiculed. But look, I feel like that's what we're dealing with here, cognitive dissonance, all the stuff I've said many times before. But it's just interesting. It's interesting to see Grush being a bit more confident and a bit more open about what else he knows. And now he's going on about bloody biologics. Communicating, talking biologics. Jesus. Anyway, important distinction here is that these remain Grush's claims. Now, this is my disclaimer here, because, look, I have to play the neutral role. I can't just go, that's what it is. We have to be objective and sensible about how we talk about this stuff. I do believe that there aren't enough people doing that. I think people are just getting overly excited about stuff. Look, I've done that before in these videos, but I just think it's good to bring it down to Chinatown and just, take the salt out the Chinese food,
That's
or
right.
MSG, whatever you want to call it. So, there still isn't publicly available primary evidence establishing recovered NHI craft, bodies, or living occupants. ARROW, All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, also known as the PSYOP, the published position has been that it has found no empirical evidence confirming an extraterrestrial/off-world crash retrieval and reverse engineering program. Now, I think I'll leave it there, guys. It's been 7 minutes there, but I think that's a lot to take in.
This is the story of the Van Meter visitor. Late night, September 1903 in Van Meter, Iowa. There's a farmer. His name is Eugene. He's walking home. All of a sudden, he sees this bright, unnatural light coming from the top of a 2-story building. And he stops and he looks up, and the light shifts towards him. He hears a weird flapping noise. This thing jumps up and flies straight north. This thing was a humanoid bat creature.
Ooh.
Staring right at him with 4 legs, a beak like a bird, standing at over 9 feet tall. There's a guy named Peter Dunn. He sleeps in the bank with a shotgun, and he's woke up to a gurgling noise. And standing out there is this creature. It shines its light, blinds him. He shoots, the creature goes away. And the next morning, they walk outside the bank, and they see 2 huge footprints with 3 toes. They went out, and they took plaster casts of footprints they found outside, and they still have them in a museum. There's this one guy who had heard gurgling in the cave the night prior, so he got the director, J. Ale Plight Jr. He gathered about 5 to 6 men. He stood out at the front of the cave, and they waited until 1 o'clock in the morning. It always came out early in the morning, and out came this creature gurgling at them. They shot, and it was unaffected. The next morning, they went to the cave where they assumed that this thing lived.
Right.
And they blew up the entrance, and they closed it off, and it has been closed off ever since. It's
Some
scary.
Watchers kind of creation.
This is going to be a lot to digest and really dense, so bear with me.
Yeah, those
It's been
bugs
a
are
few
crazy.
weeks since I posted because the supernatural stuff that my friends and family deal with on a daily basis has ramped up massively over the last few weeks. But there's a lot of things around the world that are ramping.
Chickers.
You're starting to see birthing pains. These major earthquakes are starting to become more and more prevalent.
We just had one in our area, 4.0.
Starting to see volcanoes pop up. You're seeing an economy on its absolute breaking point, on the knife's edge of
That's
change.
right.
I have to be very careful what I say on here.
Yes. And
you're
you
seeing
don't want to hurt
disclosures
yourself.
of many systems that have been manipulating us. You've got UFOs and UAPs are real. And if you don't know that, the U.S. government
I've
is
known since
releasing information,
2012.
and they're not even close to releasing all of it. But people who have been in that program and seen these things firsthand are starting to tell their stories.
It's
The
gonna start
E-files
following
and
you.
the dark stuff that is in those. You get into MK Ultra, the stuff about
Oh
COVID,
my
the truth.
gosh.
Like, all of this stuff is coming to the surface for a reason. All of this by design, at the end of a cycle, has to come to the surface. Everything that has been manipulating you has to be exposed, because going into a new beginning is no longer allowed. So you're seeing a crescendo. We can see it in the quantum mathematics that we've been given about the nature of our reality. Sorry for the plane. The reality that we live in is really a video game for your soul. It is exactly like that. Created by God, B-I-N, very real. We go through these cycles. The last one was the Younger Dryas. That is the flood of Noah.
The mud
Before
flood.
that, civilizations existed. All of that stuff is legit. As we go through this transition to a new beginning, a lot's going to take place, and it is legitimately like watching a movie unfold. There's so much prophecy and information in ancient texts. Everyone is wanting to go to that and start figuring out who is who and what is what. It's going to get really confusing. The manipulation that we have been under is greater than you understand.
Yeah, it's insane.
Alignment with divine truth really matters in this reality. Actually, your belief systems being in alignment with what is actually there matters. In the season that we're in, it is going to be super confusing to try and figure this out, because it is deep. Everyone's going to run, like if you're a Christian, you're going to run to Revelation and start figuring out what is what. The problem is if you start at the beginning of Revelation, you're going to be looking in the wrong part of the book. You're going to see stuff that helps validate, like, hey, we're watching prophecy unfold.
Yes.
But what you're actually seeing are an archetype that manifests itself at the end of these cycles. We are
oh my god, these bugs.
The power to heal. Is it magical? Like a mystical wizard? Or a small green Jedi baby? Is it scientific like all these medical beds we've been hearing about? Or something else? What up, Earthlings? Glorfin here from the 3i Atlas crew, and today we are talking about the healing power of vibrations that is present in all life in the universe. You don't have to be a doctor, or a wizard, or a Jedi to heal. This ability is prevalent in all life forms at one stage or another. Even on its own, the physical body can heal itself over time and grow new tissue, kind of like how a lizard can grow a new tail that it has lost. And while growing a new arm seems mystical and or alien, it's something that given the right vibrations and intentions can and has been achieved on Earth. There have been stories from the past of highly enlightened yogis who were so in tune with the divine source that they could perform many feats like this, including materializing a tangerine in the palm of their hand. By vibrating the molecules in the air, they can reform matter floating around into a physical fruit. This is power of intention and vibration. Through creating the vibratory signature of a tangerine, it's like creating an energetic mold that the molecules form into. Your bodies are the same. Light codes and vibrations carry the energetic signatures and structure of what a healthy cell should be. This is nearly identical to how the medical beds work. While emitting the right vibrations and light codes, they tell the body how to heal any ailment. And everyone has the innate ability to do this on their own. Even in its simplest form of healing, one is able to focus your attention on love and happiness, and rejuvenate the cells in your body and reform them to be fresh as a daisy and happy and healthy. Remember when Peter Pan said, just think happy thoughts? Well, not only will you be able to heal whatever ails you, but you'll also be able to fly. That's right, all humans have the ability to fly like Peter Pan. And you don't need fairy dust either. You just need vibrations of the highest levels and believe with all your being that it's possible. There has been many humans currently all around the world who have demonstrated telekinesis abilities and other powers thought to be a myth. It's only a matter of time before someone cracks the code of human flight and takes off to the skies for the first time in many thousands of years. Will you be the first to fly and be this era's first real life?
These are the craziest websites that exist on the internet that I bet you didn't know you needed until now. The first one is Radio Garden. This lets you tune into any radio across the whole entire world by just choosing it on the map. If you want to check out these websites, just look at the headline in blue and then add .com at the end. This website pulls any information from any website without the ads. BoilTheFrog.com lets you add 2 different songs from 2 different artists and it'll make you a playlist and merge them both. JustWatch.com lets you put in any movie you want and it'll tell you exactly where you can stream it. 10minutemail.com will make you a personal email that you can use, but it'll self-destruct itself after 10 minutes. You can go to howmanypeopleareinspacerightnow.com to see the live view of how many people are in space. Pointer.com will show you a picture of someone pointing at your mouse wherever the cursor is on the screen. It doesn't matter where. This tip of my tongue web...
Christmas I ever had, 2001, story time. My best friend Brittany was spending the night with me, and we had already done Christmas earlier that day. Now, in North Carolina, it's typically not cold on Christmas unless we get lucky that year, and on that Christmas, it was really warm. Now, me and Brittany used to have a habit of sneaking out the house late at night and walking down the road, going in the woods, just doing stuff we shouldn't have been doing. We were just dumb teenagers that were really nosy, and we were always plundering in these old houses for some reason. I don't know what that's about. So that night, me and Brittany sneak out around 11:30, we climb out my bedroom window, and I'll never forget it because this was the night when I fell out my bedroom window and hit the tongue of the trailer with my back. When I hit that tongue, it shook the whole trailer. It went dong, damn near paralyzed me. I laid on the ground, couldn't move, stiff, like she had to wait a good 15 minutes before she could pick me up, and I walked off. It left a huge bruise on my back. So beside my house, we had a huge field. Then there was a bunch of woods, like real thick woods behind this field. There was this old wood house out there in the woods, like pretty good ways away, and we decided to take our flashlights and go out there and plunder through it. I'd been in this wood house before, so I knew the outlay of it. We're walking through this old house, looking through the paperwork, the drawers, the bedrooms, just, plundering around, being nosy. We sit on this old green 70s style couch, still had the plastic on it, just sitting there chilling, and I happened to have a doobie in my pocket. So I pulled that out, lit it up, and I'm just sitting there talking to her because she didn't smoke, and we start to see these little lights flashing through the window. Of course, I thought it was my parents, so I immediately outed that thing, and we hid down behind the window so nobody couldn't see us. And we look up through the window, and we can see there's like 15, 20 people walking by. These people were all wearing these blood red hooded gowns. They looked like clan suits, but they weren't clan suits. And they were moving so fast. Once they were going out of our sight, I told Brittany, we need to get the hell out of here. We got to get back home. So we start creeping out the house, and right then we see the group standing in the edge of the woods talking. So we creep back around the edge of the house and just hid around the corner where we could still see them, but also run away. I don't know what those people were doing out there, but we lived in the deep south, so there's no damn telling what they were doing. It was some of the weirdest stuff I'd ever seen. We heard them say, like, for example, Chris of blank, you are now anointed as blank position. And then the guy pulls out this big ass sword and just places it on each side of his shoulders and then on his forehead, anointing him like a knight. Like, where are we, in medieval times? What are they doing? I almost thought it was fake because of how cliche this looked. It was like they took it straight out of a TV show. But then we saw the guy who was being initiated remove his whole gown. He had on no clothes except for drawers, like underwear, took the sword and started cutting on his chest. That's when I heard Brittany sitting beside me go, oh my God. All these people just stop and turn around. So we took off running. We ran for a good 30 minutes and we could hear them running behind us. And I told Brittany, I was like, do not stop. Because me and Brittany done been through this before. She sucked at running. Poor Brittany had diabetes. And she could not run.
Not the diabetes.
I was always having to grab her by the arm and drag her out of whatever crazy situation we got ourselves into. We finally make it back home. And when we climb up into my window, I can see these people's flashlights coming through the field up next to our house. Brittany said, oh my God, they're going to come up here. They're going to get your parents. I said, let them wake my parents up, because my dad ain't one to be with. Because if my dad comes out of his house, he's going to be spraying bullets. You just don't know. But they didn't bother our family. They just walked on out to the field and continued doing whatever they were doing. Brittany and I went through a lot of crazy situations like this. We were always together. We were best friends, and I lost her when she was 23. I miss her so much, and I wish she was here to tell the stories with me.
A hospice nurse noticed the same unusually pale man visiting several patients just hours before they passed away. He wasn't related to any of them. He never appeared on any of the visitor logs, and according to the oldest nurse that was in the building, he hadn't aged a single day in at least 31 years. So I found this story on a forum, and it's about a woman who claimed that she worked the night shift at a small hospice facility in Northern California. And I'm going to call her Michelle. And as always, I have no way of verifying any of it, so take this story for what it is, and you can decide for yourselves. Now, Michelle said most nights there were pretty quiet nights. The nurses kept the lights low, families slept in chairs beside their loved ones, and the hallways were always filled with that soft hum of the oxygen machines. And death was obviously a very big part of this job. But after a few years, she had learned to recognize when someone was getting close to the end. But what she couldn't explain was this one particular visitor. So Michelle first saw him sometime after 2 in the morning, and he was sitting beside an elderly man named Mr. Keller. The man was very tall, very thin, dressed in a very dark gray suit that looked decades out of place. His skin was so pale that under the fluorescent lights, it almost looked colorless. So she assumed maybe he was a family member, but when she stepped into the room and asked if they needed anything, he didn't even answer. He simply just turned toward her, put one finger over his lips, and he looked back at Mr. Keller. She felt kind of uncomfortable with the interaction, but the patient appeared calm, so whatever. You know, for the first time in several days, his breathing wasn't strained, his face was very relaxed, and one of his hands was resting on top of the stranger's. He looked pretty peaceful. But when she returned 15 minutes later, the chair was now empty, and Mr. Keller had passed away at 2:37 a.m. Now, the next morning, Michelle asked Mr. Keller's daughter about the man in the gray suit, and his daughter looked very confused, and she's like, no one else except for me has come to visit him at night, or even last night. And when she described him, the woman insisted she had no idea who he was. But she told herself that, you know, maybe she misunderstood something, right? Maybe he was a chaplain, a volunteer, or a relative that the daughter didn't know about. Then she saw the man again. 3 weeks later, he was standing in a doorway of another patient's room. This time, it was a woman named Evelyn, and she had advanced lung cancer, and Evelyn had been barely responsive for about 2 days at this point. But when she walked past, she heard the woman speaking very clearly, and she's like, I knew you would come back, and Evelyn whispered, and the pale man leaned closer and said something that she couldn't hear, but when she entered the room, he was gone yet again. There was only one entrance, and she had been standing directly outside of it. The windows were sealed shut, and the bathroom was completely empty. Evelyn passed away before sunrise, and after that, everything she began paying a little bit more closer attention to the visitor log. She wrote down, dates and room numbers and every time that she saw him. And over the next 4 months, he appeared beside 5 different patients, and every single one of them passed away within hours of him visiting them. But the strangest part was that some of those patients weren't expected to pass that night. One man had been sitting up and talking to his family earlier that evening. Another woman had actually improved enough that her doctor was discussing moving her to a different care facility, getting her out of hospice. But after this pale man visited them, they were gone before morning. So Michelle finally spoke to a senior nurse named Margaret, and she had worked at that hospice longer than anyone else. Michelle expected her to laugh it off and be like, oh, it's this crazy guy, whatever. Instead, the moment that she mentioned the guy in the gray suit, Margaret's face changed. She brought Michelle into the medication room, she closed the door, and she asked her to describe him to a T, what he looked like. And she's like, he's very tall, he's very thin, nearly white skin, dark hair, combed neatly to one side, gray suit, no coat, no matter how cold it is, he's outside. Margaret listened without interrupting, and then she removed an old photograph from the back of her locker. And it showed several staff members standing outside the building during its grand reopening in 1995. And Margaret was in the photograph, much younger and wearing an old-fashioned nurse's uniform. And behind the group, standing near one of the windows, was the pale man. Yes. He looked exactly the same. And Margaret said that, she first encountered him during her second week at that hospice facility 31 years earlier. A patient had been screaming for hours, terrified of dying, but shortly after that man entered her room, the screaming had stopped, and Margaret found the patient smiling peacefully, and she said her brother had finally come to take her home. Margaret explained, but, hey, your brother has been, gone for nearly 40 years now. But according to Margaret, the staff had tried reporting the man several times over the years, and security cameras would show doors opening by themselves, but he never appeared on any of the footage. Patients and nurses could see him very clearly, as real as you and me are. Yet cameras captured nothing but empty hallways and empty rooms. Eventually, the older employees stopped mentioning him altogether. He became kind of like a legend amongst those that have been there for a while. They even developed, an unofficial rule that if the man entered a patient's room, they allowed the family to know it might be time to come and say goodbye. So Michelle asked Margaret who she thought he was. Margaret said she didn't believe, him because, that he caused anyone's death. She believed he came because death was already there. But then she gave Michelle a warning, and she told her if she ever sees him anywhere except the patient's room, you need to leave the building immediately. Now, Michelle didn't fully understand what she meant by that, but several weeks later, she was finishing her shift when she noticed the pale man standing at the far end of the hallway. And every time, the patient's door was closed, he wasn't looking at any of them. He was standing directly in the hallway, staring right at Michelle. And he slowly lifted one hand and he pointed toward the nurse's station behind her. And sitting there was Margaret. And before Michelle could say anything, Margaret suddenly grabbed her chest and she collapsed. And Michelle called for help, and the staff worked on her until the ambulance had arrived, but Margaret passed away on the way to the hospital. And Michelle never returned to that hospice company after that night ever again. So let me know what you guys think. Was this an angel of death? Something more darker, more supernatural? Let me know in the comments.
Whoa. Take a look at that, guys.
Beautiful.
I was definitely not expecting that. Oh, and there's more. Look over. I don't know if you guys can see in that alcove. Let me see if I can zoom in, maybe. There's more up in there as well. Wow. It's a fairly deep canyon. Take a look. Down there. Oh. Man, amazing. I've got to check that out. All right, guys, I'm not sure if you can see everything, but I'm sort of on the other side of the canyon. I'm trying to get over to these ruins. So I'm out of breath. But as I was climbing up, take a look at that. There's kind of this outline building over here. I think it's a granary. Wow, so cool. It's just perched up here kind of on this high cliff before the bigger pueblo. There's this structure. I would guess it's a granary, just given the size of it and the size of the doorway / window. And often the alcoves or the caves that were used as living quarters, they'll have a bunch of black coloration up on the roofs where from just fires, many fires, the soot has just blackened the top of the ceiling. I don't see that here. So here's the doorway. Doesn't look like much in there anymore. But look at that architecture. That was cool, but let's go check out the main attraction up here. Oh, wow. Oh, check this out. Okay, so I'm coming up on the first dwelling over here. Oh, wow, look, there's more Moki steps. That's really not hard to get up in, but wow, this is neat.
Maybe for winter time. Wow.
Ooh.
It's beautiful.
So I mentioned earlier about the smoke from fires, blackening the tops of these caves and alcoves. I mean, this is covered in soot. So there have been a lot of fires in this place over the years. Man, this is actually one of the blacker roofs I've ever seen. There it is, looking out over the valley. Look how carefully they just pieced all of this together. You've got these blocks here, the sandstone blocks, and then they filled it in with mortar kind of along. And then a lot of times this would have been fully plastered, so it would have fully been covered up. You wouldn't have actually seen these rocks. But often over time, that plaster is kind of the first thing to break down, and so we don't always see it on some of the.
There's a town at the bottom of Lake Mead that was never supposed to be seen again, but the water is dropping, and after 80 years in the dark, St. Thomas is coming back to the surface, one street at a time. This isn't a legend, this isn't folklore, this is a real place, a pioneer town built by hand in 1865. Families crossed the desert to get there. They found water, they built homes, they planted crops, they raised children, they buried their dead in a small cemetery at the edge of town, and for over 70 years life went on. Quiet, simple, real. Then everything changed. Lake Mead was created. The water began to rise. St. Thomas stood directly in its path. The people had no choice. They packed what they could carry and left. The last man out waited until the water was at his door. He climbed into a small boat and rowed away while his home disappeared behind him. The rooftops went under one by one. The school, the church, the post office, the cemetery, all swallowed. For 80 years, St. Thomas sat in total darkness, buried under the weight of a lake. Fish drifted through what used to be bedrooms. Silt settled over what used to be gardens. The current moved through the streets like wind through a ghost town, but the water never forgot, and neither did the desert. Lake Mead has been shrinking for years. The level keeps falling, and as it falls, St. Thomas rises. The first thing that appeared was the top of the schoolhouse steps, just a few stones poking through the mud, then more. Foundations, walls, the outline of the old post office, the path of Main Street, the cemetery with its headstone still flat in the dirt, names still legible after all these years. Now you can walk through it. You can stand in the middle of what used to be a living town and feel the weight of it. The silence is different there, not empty, full. Like the town is still holding on to something. Like the years underwater didn't erase it, they just pressed it down for a while. Some visitors say they hear things, soft sounds, a voice in the distance, the creak of wood that isn't there, a bell, not loud, just a faint ring from somewhere under the cracked earth. Maybe it's the wind, maybe it's memory, maybe it's something else, but everyone who visits says the same thing. St. Thomas doesn't feel dead. It feels like it's waiting for the water to drop further, waiting for more of itself to be revealed, waiting for someone to remember, and the water keeps dropping. Every year more of the town emerges, more streets, more foundations, more pieces of a world that was taken too soon. It's the closest thing America has to Atlantis, except you don't need a submarine, you just need to walk. Someday the lake may recede completely. What will happen then? Will St. Thomas stand again? Will people rebuild? Or will it remain a skeleton in the desert, a reminder reminder that nothing we build is permanent. Not towns, not lives, not even lakes. But maybe that's the beauty of it. St. Thomas was taken, and now it's being given back. Not all at once, slowly, deliberately, like the earth is unveiling something it kept safe for 80 years. If you ever get the chance, go. Walk the old streets, stand where families once stood, listen to the silence, and then look down at the stones under your feet. You're standing on history, a lost town that refused to disappear forever. St. Thomas is still here. It was just underwater for a little while, and now it's ready to be seen again.
This is everything that happened on the news today, but it's going to be simplified in 60 seconds. Scientists have just discovered a new ocean forming as Africa begins to split. So basically, literally just like the title says, Africa is splitting and an ocean is forming where the crack is. It looks like this. People are blown away by this extremely tiny detail in Michelangelo's sculpture of Moses. Basically, it's this little muscle in your arm right here that only retracts whenever you move your pinky. It's not that big of a deal. Astronomers have just detected a radio signal that took 8 billion years to reach Earth. There's a whole video about this on my page if you want to go watch. Scientists have finally decrypted the mysterious signal sent to Earth for 2 decades from this hell planet. Also, there's a whole video on my page if you want to go look. This fish with vicious teeth from 3,000 feet below the ocean washed up on the shore in California. This is literally just an anglerfish, but they're very rare to be washed up because usually they get eaten before they get there. Scientists just accidentally discovered a new organ in the human body. This one's really crazy, but it's just an organ that's like right below your nose, right here where that arrow's pointing. And they discovered that this organ is used to like moisten your throat and like nasal cavity, I guess. This thief right here pretended to be a mannequin to steal jewelry. So basically after the jewelry store closed, he just pretended to be a mannequin so that he can hack all the jewelry, and it didn't work. He got caught. I do these daily roundups every single day so you guys can get all this information without having to go watch the news. So make sure you hit the plus and add me to come back tomorrow.
When people say you don't have a right to privacy when you're in a public space, this is true in one sense. On one hand, when you're out in a public space and somebody is taking pictures or they're filming a video and you happen to be in the background or you end up on camera in their video, you really have no right to privacy when you're actually in a public space. But what's happening with these flock cameras and digital surveillance crosses the threshold to what I would consider digital stalking. When you're out in a public space, it's completely different. When somebody is filming or live streaming with their camera or they're taking pictures and they point the camera at you and they film you, you really have no right to privacy in those situations. But if that person or if that system or organization suddenly starts following your every movement, they're tracking exactly where you're going, they're watching everywhere that you go throughout the day in that public space, and they're monitoring exactly every place that you've been, what you did, what car you drove, what license plate you have, and they're collecting that information and monitoring you. It's no longer a question of whether or not you have no right to privacy when you're in a public space. It goes across the threshold to where now we're talking about
well, no expectation of privacy.
So I got a death threat yesterday.
Nice.
Somebody sent me a cryptic message with some gifts and stuff, and I got the message, but I've been thinking about it all day. I'm in Cloudcroft, New Mexico, by the way. I'm on my way back to Alamogordo for a little bit for a little weekend jaunt. Anyway, I've been thinking about this for a little bit. Trying to figure out, like, how... I didn't even get a chance to react to it, because, like, I kind of saw the messages, and it was blowing up my phone. It was a lot of gifts. It was a lot of little cryptic bullshit. So I get back from work, get back to the house, and I look at it, and I'm like, it deleted the account. The name of the account was Yahusha. Yeah, Yahusha Michael. You know who I'm talking about, right? They're trying to say they're Jesus and God and what have you. I mean, I had a response to it, but by the time I opened it and actually looked at it, like, they blocked me and deleted the videos, but they didn't delete the gifts, which, you know, that was a clear message. For one, like, my response here. I'll put my response out right here. Thank you. All right, so now that that's out of the way, I'm just a dude standing at the top of the rabbit hole, gathering people up. That's what I do. I'm just up here after you done been through all the rabbit holes and figured some stuff out, and you don't care to be in the rabbit hole no more. I'll throw a rope down there for you. And there's a whole bunch of us. Okay, there's a whole bunch of us just. We're just watching now, waiting for the things, you know, that we know are coming. And just to throw another response out there, whoever sent that to me, I love you. I forgive you. I know what you're doing. I know what you're feeling, and I know why you would send me something like that. And it's okay. I still love you. It's okay. Everybody's having their different kinds of way of dealing with the world the way it is right now. And that's one of the ways, I imagine. If you ever run into me, that's what I am. I'm at the end of the rabbit hole with a handout and a smile and maybe a familiar song that we can dance to while the world's burning up around us. While the world's been calling you crazy this whole time, now you know you're not. Hey, it's all right. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of us. There's a lot of you. So, hang back, hop into comments, chat with each other. You know, we're finding out all the secrets. And we're just getting our confirmations that we weren't nuts. We were right on point. And there was a lot of us. We just didn't know it until just recently. And it's really awesome to run into you guys. Yeah, but that happened, and I was kind of glad. I've sent it to a few people, and I was like, I must be famous now because I'm getting death threats. Ooh, not even worried. My soul's prepared. How's yours?
So you guys are always saying, why is it that it's just the U.S. that deals with aliens and UFOs? Like, no other part of the world deals with it. Okay, guys, well, I have something for you, and it's from China. Now, I myself and a lot of people who are into this and have been into this for a while know that this stuff literally happens all over the world. I think the only place that I don't hear too many situations occur with UFOs and aliens is actually Africa. And a friend of mine brought that to my attention not too long ago, except the big situation that occurred in Zimbabwe. Remember the school children and stuff like that? If you guys want to know more about that, I can always bring it up. But we're going to focus on China today.
That's interesting.
So this gentleman has brought to our attention 3 different situations that occurred in the 90s in China. Okay, not only dealing with UFOs, but beings as well. Okay, take a listen to this.
In the summer of 1997, there was another incident reported by the ufologists in China, not by the official media. There was a UFO crash in Datong City in Shanxi province. That's about 4-hour drive from Beijing, the capital city of China. And the military retrieved a crashed UFO with 2 injured gray aliens. The Chinese military people described them as rat-like ETs or people. And one of them died, and the other one was taken by the military along with the corpse of the dead ET and the crashed UFO, and nothing was heard by the government or from the military anymore.
Kind of sounds similar, right? And I don't know about you, but I know for myself, the 90s were an active time for aerial phenomena. You know what I mean? I saw a lot of UFOs during that time. I am pretty sure I even saw a UFO land not too far from my house. But of course I was a kid, so I don't really know. Maybe I was just a little weirdo. But it's just interesting. I love that we're bringing this to the attention to the forefront here. You know, let's keep getting it out there. I mean, I think we've been pretty stagnant with stuff that's been coming out with the United States. I was listening to a creator, Hallucination Hippie or Hippies. I love that. If you're really into UFO, like, he's very detailed in information. He's very good. Follow him, okay? But like he said, it's like, you know, these videos are coming out here from the United States, right? They're cool and all, but there's not real data with them. There's not really any, like, you know what I mean? Things, we're ready for the next step is basically where we're at. But what do you think of all this? Were you surprised that China has some kind of similar situations to the US when it comes to UFOs and maybe beings? Or are you not? Do you think there's more there? Do you think we're being led astray?
Bro, India's Kaujalantis are getting out of hand. Violent attacks are being carried out across the country where groups of men are trying to stop illegal cattle smugglers because in India, cows are sacred. But the craziest part, these attacks are actually way more common than you think and have been happening for years, resulting in hundreds of deaths and injuries. And let me tell you, these vigilante groups will go to any extreme necessary for their cause, including high-speed chases, scaling the sides of livestock trucks like freaking Mission Impossible, as well as vandalizing vehicles and beating up or humiliating drivers. And in some cases, it can get really dark. Just a couple of months ago, in June, 7 men were sentenced to life in prison for lynching a suspected cow smuggler. Now, here's the thing. Many Hindus say that violent vigilantes do not represent genuine cow protection, which is seen as a religious and cultural duty. And these cow mafias are giving the cause a bad reputation. But the Kaujalantis argue that they have to do this because the government is failing to enforce slaughter bans, which are illegal or heavily restricted in most states of India. So yeah, turns out if you didn't know, transporting beef in India might be one of the most dangerous jobs in the world.
2 women broke down on an empty highway in the middle of nowhere, and as they...
Well, boys and girls, it looks like it's the end of the evening for you and me, as far as watching trippy TikToks and such. Yeah, that was a whole bunch of craziness. And take it with a heap of salt or sugar or whatever you're taking your medicine with. This is for entertainment purposes only. Thank you so much once again for hanging out with me tonight. It was a pleasure hanging out with you and hopefully entertaining you. Thank you to all my friends out there, wherever you may be listening, Beyond The Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time, and I can't wait to do it again. Tomorrow night, I'm hoping to do story time. We're going to do Stephen King's Don't Flinch. It's going to be good. Don't forget, we are all in this together. Together, we can make the world better, and together, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. Night night with a light, take care of my ears. I'll see you back here. Same crazy time, same crazy place.